This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Good evening. Welcome to the Easthampton City Council meeting for Wednesday, December 18th. The meeting tonight is being recorded and broadcast by e-media on Charter Channel 193 and live streaming on their webpage, easthamptonmedia.org. Councilors or participants in this meeting are gathered in hybrid on their order extended until March 2025, which allow us to do so. I remind both the member of the City Council and the public participating remote remain mute until recognized by the City Council President. Also, for the member of the public, please remove your camera for the duration of the meeting unless you are participating in public speak time or the public hearing. Thank you. This meeting is now called to order. Barbara.
Tony Denham. Here. Salem Derby.
Present.
Omar Gomez.
Here.
JP Kaczynski.
Here.
Tom Peak.
Here.
Brad Riley.
Here.
Cameron Smith. Here. JT Terrell.
Here.
Owen Zarek.
Present.
Before the moment of silence, I just want to make an announcement. We're supposed to, after the Pledge of Allegiance, we are supposed to do the swearing for the firefighters. Thank God that we have them because they are in service now and they're working in a call. I promise that as soon they show up, we're going to do the swearing in. For now, we're going to do a moment of silence. Thank you. The Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I commit to work.
They're here, but Nicole is not here, so we're going to wait until the mayor show up. So I will take a motion to approve the minutes of December 4th.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of December 4th. Any further discussion? Seeing none, for those in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Abstention? I abstain because I was not in that meeting. Public speak time. This is the opportunity to the public to address to the council any regarding topic not listed on the public hearing. Do you have 3 minutes to talk to the council? At the public hearing, we have a few items. One of them is going to be the increase of the school committee and the city council is going to be part of the public hearing. You have the opportunity now to talk to the council that is not related to the public hearing. Please state your name and others for the record, and please make all the comments to the council.
Good evening. My name is Kathy Wazinski. I live on Overlook Drive. It's my understanding that tonight you will be potentially sending the concern about the flag over the National Pond to a committee for review. I appreciate your thoughtful consideration of that concern. It really has stirred up quite a few feelings in the community, and I would encourage you to leave it in place from Veterans Day, from Memorial Day to Veterans Day going forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilors, Dan Riss, 26 Line Street. I used to be sitting where you are, and I respect all of you very much. I would like to thank President Gomez for my appointment to the CPA committee. I believe my experience with the CPA will be valuable to the city. Thank you for your consideration in confirming my nomination. I would also like to thank President Gomez for his service to this council and to the city. He has demonstrated what a leader should be, always fair in his decision-making while always trying to be informed about the issues in front of the council. He spent more time at City Hall than any president I have known, including myself, learning about city affairs and the city's financial status. By doing his homework, he gave the council informed opinion and guiding influence. Also, As our first Hispanic counselor, he demonstrated to our minority community that serving the city can be rewarding. I am fully confident he will continue to do the work necessary to represent our legislative district, and I wish him well in his new responsibilities he now must deal with. Omar, our city is a better place to live because of your tenure on the council. Thank you so much.
Good evening, I'm Diane Borowski. I live at 13 Dewey Street here in Easthampton. And I'm here because I understand you're going to be reappointing a new female park commissioner today. That's what I heard today, so that's why I'm here. Because we had a very important meeting this past Monday about putting the dog park into Nonotuck Park, which I'm against. And 4 of the women, I understand, were new members. Years ago, I thought, because I'm at the park all the time with my dog, I thought, oh, maybe that's something I'd like to do. I don't know how you get qualified or whatever. But anyways, I understand from Monday's meeting, 2 of the women had a map of the park. And my feeling is they don't know the park at all. And I understand from talking to somebody that only one of them went through the park twice. I don't know how you can be on the park commission and not go through the park or know the situation of the park. Anyway, so they were sitting there with the map going through it, and like, because they were talking about, oh, this, by this pavilion or that pavilion. And yes, the 3 gentlemen, I said, yay, they voted against, getting the park somewhere else, okay, but not in the park. I just, I don't know what the qualifications are for being a park commissioner if you're not in the park and know the situation, the surroundings of the park. So.
Thank you.
Anyways, that's my beef.
Thank you. Anyone else before I go to the people who are participating remote? Seeing none. Mr. Mason?
Thank you, President Gomez. I just want to take a moment to thank you for your service to the city, your leadership as City Council person and City Council President has really enhanced our city. You were wonderful to work with, always professional, and I just wanted to take a moment to wish you well, and I know that you'll serve not only Easthampton but your entire district well, and we're lucky to have you in that position. And, good luck. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I think you guys are going to make me cry today. Thank you. Anyone else? Julie?
Hi, Julie from Precinct 1. 2 things. First, President Gomez, you're going to be greatly missed. I have always found you to be very professional. You have demonstrated such great integrity, and you have built a cohesive team on the City Council, and I hope whoever fills your shoes will be able to continue to do that. It's a unique characteristic of a leader, but it's one of the most important. And I really appreciate all that you've done for us. And then secondly, I want to talk about the flag, but if you're going to bring this up at another time, I'd rather wait for another time. I just want to know if there would be an opportunity at another meeting to do that.
Yes. What we're doing today for the public and the knowledge of the public, we have it on their agenda, but we're going to move it to a committee. It's going to be in Properties Committee. The Properties Committee, we're going to have probably multiple meetings, and then it's coming back to the full council, and the public will it's going to have the opportunity to talk to the council. Yes.
Okay, so I'd rather wait then. Okay, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie.
Good luck to you in all your endeavors.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, police peak time is closed, and the mayor's right here. And now is the time to do this running for the new firefighters. I will say thank you always to be using the city council and to present the firefighters to the community. They serve the community, and it's always a pleasure for us to have you guys here.
Thank you so much. Actually, we're very grateful that you allow us to do this. It means a lot to us. I'd be remiss if I didn't take former Councilor Rist's lead and thank you Mr. President, for all your service, your support of the fire department, for me personally, and I know we'll still count on you 82 or so miles away to continue supporting us. We are here to swear in 3 of our newest firefighters. We're very lucky to have all of them. 2 of them are out of breath. I am also, that's just nerves. They are actually coming back from a call, took their gear off and ran over from the fire station. So just got to give them a little bit of leeway as they recite the pledge. One of them is Elizabeth, or Lizzie Karolitis. She's coming to us with previous fire and EMS experience. She's already a paramedic. She's completed the academy recruit training for the Massachusetts Firefighting Academy. While she was there, she was the outstanding recruit for her class. She won the Richard Bangs Award. So we're very, very fortunate to have her with us. Also, we have Michael Radke. He also comes to us with previous fire and EMS experience. He's a basic EMT. He will be attending the Recruit Academy in January, and then following that up with paramedic school. And then finally, we have Aaron Almeida. He comes to us also with some fire and EMS experience. He's a basic EMT, and he'll be attending the Fire Academy with Mike in January. So we'll get them trained up and ready to serve all our great citizens. So without further ado, Madam Mayor, it's your show.
Nervous. All right, so I have them in a specific
Okay,
order. So,
and we'll do that.
yeah, let's do one at a time. I skip when we do it all.
You're good.
All right.
Aaron, you're up.
And if you could repeat after me, I state your name.
I, Aaron Almeida,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully and impartially
that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge and perform
discharge and perform
the duties
the duties
incumbent upon
incumbent upon
me as a firefighter
me as a firefighter
for the city of Easthampton,
for the city of Easthampton,
and according to
and according to
the best of my knowledge
the best of my knowledge
and abilities,
and abilities,
agreeably to the rules
agreeably to the rules
and regulations of
and regulations of
the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the United States of America,
the laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts,
the laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts,
and the city of Easthampton.
and the city of Easthampton.
Congratulations. Okay, that's for you. Okay.
Lizzie?
How are you? Repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Elizabeth Karolitis,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully and impartially
that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge and perform
discharge and perform
the duties incumbent
the duties incumbent
upon me
upon me
as a firefighter of the city of Easthampton,
as a firefighter for the city of Easthampton,
according to the best of my knowledge
according to the best of my knowledge
and abilities,
and abilities,
agreeably to the rules
agreeably to the rules
and regulations
and regulations
of the Constitution of the United States of America,
of the constitutions of the United States of America,
the laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts,
the laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts,
and the city of Easthampton.
and the city of Easthampton.
Congratulations. All right.
Mike, you're up.
How are you? Good. All right, I think you got the job. I state your name.
I, Michael Radke,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully and impartially
that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge and perform
discharge and perform
the duties incumbent
the duties incumbent
upon me
upon me
as a firefighter for the city of
as
Easthampton,
a firefighter for the city of Easthampton,
according to the best of my knowledge
according to the best of my knowledge
and abilities,
and abilities,
agreeably to the rules
agreeably to the rules
and regulations
and regulations
of the Constitution of the United States of America,
of the Constitution of the United States of America,
the laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts
the laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts
and the city of Easthampton.
and the city of Easthampton.
Congratulations. Did you say that? Okay.
Congratulations.
I can say sure.
Thank you for joining us.
Congratulations. Let's take a picture.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Do we need to squeeze in, Chief?
Please, yeah.
Yeah, stand.
You guys are good. I was tippy toes.
That's it right there. All right, count 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
See you guys all in action now.
Yeah, thank you.
Right?
Thank you, Mayor. I will take a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to open the public hearing. Any further discussion? Seeing none, those one in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Abstention? Motion passes. Councilor Peak.
Thank you, Mr. President. The first one that we have tonight is an interdepartmental transfer of $47,743.22 from the PEG Access account to the PEG Access account for us on the council. I think we all know what this is, for the benefit of anyone on the public who's curious. It's really just a pass-through sort of situation when Spectrum, when people pay for cable TV from Spectrum, those franchise fees go to the city. The city then moves them over to Easthampton Media so that they can have an operating budget. So this is just something we have to do quarterly, and that's basically, there's nothing else we can spend this money on, so it is what it is.
Simple. Any councilor have any questions or concerns? Comments? No? Anyone from the public have any questions, comments about this? See none, Councilor Peak.
All right. All right. The request is hereby made for approval of following appropriation. Amount requested $47,743.22 to be transferred from PEG Access account $47,743.22 to be transferred to PEG Access account $47,743.22. The amount requested will be used for the following purpose: to give approval to spend from the PEG Access receipts reserved account for cable-related purposes consistent with the franchise agreement.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for interdepartmental transfer of $47,743.22 for the PEG Access account to the PEG Access account. Any further discussion? For those one in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any against? Abstention? Motion passes. Thank you, Councilor Riley. Councilor Peak.
Okay, so the next two items that we have, just for the benefit of anyone who's just entering this conversation, we, every term, are tasked with reviewing the salaries for elected and stipends for elected and appointed positions. So we did that in Finance Committee over the course of the last year. The Finance Committee reported out a increase of the mayoral salary that was passed at the last meeting and then subsequently vetoed, which will be something that I think are just going to discuss after the public hearing. But during the public hearing, councilors made, or I believe a councilor made recommendations on two other positions that the Finance Committee had made no recommendation on. So we couldn't discuss those recommendations tonight, but out of deference towards the member, we did want to put those on a public hearing and have them have a fair conversation. So just for whatever it's worth, the Finance Committee did not recommend an increase to either of these salaries. But since it was a proposed amendment from a member, we were going to discuss them. We did meet last week, but we did not discuss this any further because we felt that we'd already basically discussed the topic to the extent that we were going to. I think so the first one is an increase of the school committee salary to $6,000. And I don't know, would you like me to do this, or should the sponsor speak to this, or I guess we can, however you want to do it.
I mean, if,
well,
let's discuss it. And
Okay.
then if we will make a motion, the motion I think should be like a winner recommendation, like you guys did, because that was what you came out with from the committee.
Right.
And a councilor can make the amendment of the 6,000, and then we vote and they amend it.
Okay, great. So that's what I've got. The proposal that Councilor Kwasinski, if I'm not mistaken, came up with was to increase the salary for the six elected members of the school committee to be $6,000, and then for the school committee chair to be $6,500, effective January 2nd, 2026. Again, when we're talking about all of this, it's important to note we don't raise salaries for sitting people. So anything we do or do not do tonight is about whoever wins elections next year. Whether or not those people will have the same salary that current elected officials do or a different one. So.
Any councilor have any comments, questions? Anyone?
I do actually.
Councilor Riley.
I wanted to make sure that I gave other people the opportunity to speak first. So, as I've talked about in the previous issue of the mayor's salary, I'm a firm believer in pay equity in all instances, and I know that we will be talking about the second issue next, so without directly addressing it, I have a problem with paying our school committee members almost half of what the city council gets paid. I think there can be some philosophical arguments about who has more responsibility in terms of oversight of the city, but having a master's in education and knowing the work that our school committee members do, education is a much more regulated industry than what it is that we do on the city council. So I am not comfortable with any dollar amount for the city council and the school committee unless it's the same exact amount with the additional $500, for chairs. That makes sense, but I'm not comfortable with the $6,000. I don't know what the dollar amount is that makes sense, but I feel compelled to vote no on this, knowing that we're also discussing $10,000 for city councilors. I believe that they deserve at least the same amount that we get paid.
Thank you. Councilor Peak.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I was going to say something about this, but Councilor Riley speaking made me feel that I just want to say this. The committee made a choice to not address these positions, in large part because these are stipends that people, whether the councilors or school committee members receive, usually on top of another income, and it's just in a tight financial position. It's difficult. It's also difficult because the base salaries are so low that increasing it by any amount, the optics are inherently bad because the percent goes up even when the actual amount being discussed is not great. And so if the council makes the decision that we can't afford to raise these for this or the second one, I understand that and I respect that. But I do just want to register that I have a certain level of discomfort with the disparity that exists between city councilors and school committee members in terms of the pay. And that's not to say that I think that either of them is necessarily inappropriately high or low. That's an entirely different conversation about what is the proper amount to compensate this job. You can make a lot of different arguments looking at it from a lot of different perspectives that I might agree with or disagree with. What does bother me is the fact that we set them at different levels. And the reason why it bothers me is because I've had the privilege to get to know some of the school committee members over the time that I've been on the city council, and I just, the idea that we work harder than them is just, to me, it's silly. I think we certainly deal with a broader portfolio of issues, like that's certainly true, but they deal with perhaps the one issue that people feel the most strongly, the most intense about. I'll remind you that, like, you know, in this term that these school committee members are currently on, there was a point where some of them had police posted up outside their houses because of, you know, communications that they were getting and things like that. And that's not something that I don't think has ever happened to any of us. It's certainly never happened to me. I've never felt unsafe really in any capacity as a city councilor. But people, when it comes to schools, when it comes to people's kids, people have a lot of really strong opinions, and rightly so, but the meetings that they have, they meet, they hold their regular meetings. Those meetings can be very intense. Those meetings can be very long. Those meetings can be incredibly emotionally taxing in a way that, frankly, I think much of our stuff isn't. And so if it's, I don't know how to tie that in with the fact that, like, yes, we are in a tight budget situation, and I don't know what the right situation to handle that is. But just as we enter into this conversation, I just want to voice that I have always had a certain level of discomfort with that discrepancy, and I would like to see it closed by some means at some point.
Councilor Dena?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm actually in full support of the $6,000 raise and the $6,500. And specifically, 2 years ago when we voted on this, I articulated that I thought that at that time they should have been equal, and the argument that the other councilors made was that this was a hierarchy, and because we oversaw their budget, that we should have a higher, basically, salary. In full disclosure, I have no intention of supporting the amount that City Council is recommending, or this motion, the next motion is supporting, and that will actually bring up and create equity between both council and city and the school committee. I think that that's fair. It should have been that way this year. Unfortunately, it was not. As everything that was said, I believe in pay equity. I think the important thing to recognize also is that while our school committee is equally between men and women. The reality is that most school committees are predominantly women, and I think that that is a discrepancy that needs to be addressed. So I am in full support of this, knowing that that will actually, at this time, bring up their salary to that of councilors. I will not move forward on the other one. Thank you.
Any other councilor before? Councilor Smith?
For clarity, we're only talking about the school committee salary first?
Yeah, we're going to do that first one, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I would agree. I would agree that the school committee does a lot of actual work and that they are doing a lot for licensure issues and regulations. And I don't have a problem raising their salary, but I do have a problem with the other one. And so I'll speak to that later. But I just wanted to acknowledge that we've all seen over the past couple of years the school committee really be attacked on social media, be sued by people, be really, it's a very difficult position for a person to be in. So I really kind of understand the financial compensation for that position as well as ours. But I think even in these conversations, when we're talking that maybe our work is equal, then I just don't. And that's for the next one, so I'll keep that there.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Riley?
Thank you, Mr. President. So I actually misspoke, and I would like my previous comments to be stricken from the record. And the reason why is I meant to say this in advance, and I let my feelings about the topic get in the way, but in my professional life, I am the vice chair of the board of directors at Tapestry Health, and one of our school committee members is also a board of directors. So for that reason, I don't want anybody to take what I said to heart. Please ignore what I said, and that I will be abstaining from this vote on those grounds. Thank you.
A point of information.
Councilor Kuczynski? Yeah.
I would like to address what Councilor Riley just said. I appreciate your full disclosure and your acknowledging a relationship with someone who is in the situation. I would say that does not preclude you from voting on this. In every bit of my information, and I've checked with the Commonwealth on this, that you can abstain from anything you wish. However, as a conflict of interest, there is no conflict of interest in this situation if you vote this year on a salary for the following term after an election, so that the person that you know and share board of directorship with is not necessarily on the next school. They may choose not to run, they may love to run, who knows? But that's why we make our decisions on this matter now and not 6 or 8 or 10 months from now when the hats are in the ring and people say, oh, geez, let's raise this up. No, that's not the game. That's not the way this works. It is for the public to decide who they want to have to represent them in the next term. And then what should that salary be for that entire term? Thank you for the point of information.
Thank you, Councilor Kuczynski. And but I just want to remind you that none of our lawyers. It's always good to communicate with Ethics Commission. So just for the record, too. Councilor Terrell.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to say, in regards to, and I'll speak on the second issue when we talk about it, as far as the salary equity, I do support this as far as the raise in the school committee. The amount might sound a little counterintuitive. I was one of the 3 that voted against the mayoral salary due to fiscal responsibility. I stated at the time, and I still adhere to that, but I feel as though the cost here compared to what we are going to be gaining by doing it is priceless. So I just wanted to voice my support for the school committee equity. Thank you.
Any other councilors? Councilor Sarek?
I also support an increase in salary for the school committee. I disagree with the notion that that there's equity by comparing the city council to the school committee. They have different roles within the city, and that's directed both by MGL and the charter. And so in terms of equity, I'd rather look at how other cities are modeled in terms of how much they compensate their school committee. I agree too that I think it's been a very tough year for our school committee and a very tough few years, especially with the pandemic. And I hope we also find a time when things are a lot calmer and you're not having to teach through a viral outbreak. But I don't agree that these 2 bodies have the same duties and therefore the compensation should be the same. And just to clarify for the record too, the current stipend for the school committee is it 4,000?
4,500 for
42.
42.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other councilors before the public? Councilor Kuczynski?
May I will make this argument on behalf of all of those who are not in the positions that everyone, I believe, here at this table and the school committee table is. And I think everyone would describe their lives as comfortable. Everyone at this table, I believe, has the ability to have a reasonable income, reasonable benefits, reasonable opportunities that just aren't available to everyone in our community. I think as long as we have pay equity, that if you don't need the job, you can take it. You can run for it, and you don't need the money because that's not important. You're comfortable. You really haven't set forth a true situation where folks can come to the table and say, yeah, I can afford to do what my passion gives me and what I want to do and get paid at least what a laborer would get paid, someone at a fast food restaurant. That's the attempt to raise the salaries. As long as we believe that we've made every opportunity to keep things on a good, we're on a good playing field. Oh, we can afford to, well, yeah, we're comfortable. And I'll be the first to admit it. Yes, I've been fortunate. I think everyone here has. And that's really not equity for the community. There are people who would like to be here who just can't afford the salary. If they, Councilor Gomez, I know you had made that argument the last time we discussed salaries. And you had discussed if you could be a coach, or you could do this, or you could do that, or you could represent the public in city council. And you made that very convincingly. That if you have to make a choice and you have mouths to feed and bills to pay, you're going to make the choice. And when I see the schools offering up $26 an hour, 26 and change for bus drivers with vacation, sick time, personal days, with other benefits, health insurance, life insurance, and that's a part-time job. Why wouldn't somebody do that if they had to make a choice and money was important to them? I say if you don't want the increase, don't take it. Give it back to the community. I support the measure.
Thank you. Anyone from the public that want to have a question or form, please state your name and address for the record, and you will have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Dan Riss, former city councilor. I apologize. 26 Line Street. I've been hearing some things tonight that make me change my opinion, so forgive me, some of this may not make sense when I'm finished. I come before you now to ask you not to approve the stipend increases before you, at least not for the council. I believe it will damage the reputation of the council and all of you. I'm sure you all work hard for the city and that you can rationalize this increase as being necessary given your profound responsibilities. But I warn that the citizens will see it differently. When I asked a friend what she thought of the $10,000 increase, the first word she spoke was greed. That will be the perception, and you all know the perception is the reality for most. When I served, I did so out of a desire to give back to the city that helped raise my family. I never thought that I wanted to be a counselor to get a paycheck. Indeed, many of our committees, the Planning Board, the Board of Public Works, the assessors, also have regulatory responsibilities, but they serve to give the city the benefit of their life experience. They are volunteers receiving little or no remuneration. More importantly is the message this sends. With the proposed increase to both the council and the school committee stipends, it will be $44,000 hit to the budget. For the council, a 66% increase. How can you justify this to our employees, our teachers, our public safety, and DPW workers that struggle to negotiate a 3% and 4% increase? $44,000 may seem minuscule amount when dealing with a $50 million budget, but it is the message that is sent. There must be plenty of money, so why can't we, the employees, get a significant raise? If this is approved, you will make it difficult for our mayor and future mayors to negotiate budgetary difficulty when it comes to union contracts. Saying all of this, when I heard what Councilor Denham said and others about pay equity, I certainly support now the $6,000 for the school committee. Given what they've been through and all that they do, I think it just sends the message that we, the council, respect their work. I do not, and hope you won't, take the $10,000 into consideration, but if you want to raise the $6,000, I certainly support that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Caroline?
Here I come. You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I am Carolyn Cushing, Main Street, 143 Main Street. And thank you to the counselors. Thank you, President Gomez, for all your service and running great meetings. And I am here. I didn't have much time to do the numbers like my fellow neighbor, Dan Rist now. But yeah, I've been talking to neighbors, particularly about the 10,000 for the council, and people are like, what's that about? I mean, I remember early conversations raising things from 4,000 on the council and 2,000 on the school committee, you know, bumping it up a little by 1,000. Like, that seemed reasonable, things seemed low. But now, certainly for the council, big jumps, and even for the school committee, I'm not so much questioning the validity of that or the amount of their work, which I think is large, but there is the question of where is the money going to come from? And when I look, there's the salaries, you can get the data from the different towns, what they're paying their city councilors, what they're paying school committee. And you know, these numbers that we're talking about, school committee and city council, are larger than, you know, kind of comparable places. Like, I just look at East Long Meadow, for one, it's here, it's close, and similar size, just a tad bigger. They pay their school committee like 2,000, their city councilors were regular like 5,000, and they are a wealthier community than we are. This is Google, it's a quick look. Like, their median household income is more than 100,000. Easthampton's is just a little more than 70,000. So where does the money come? Where will it come from? Particularly as we may be going into less federal funding, potential challenges to that. So if we've had the money for the city, for the school committee, you know, that could be something to consider. Maybe it's not as big a jump if we don't know where the money is going to come from, and that the city council raising it, it would be going from 4,000 at the end of 2022 to 10,000, you know, January 26th. That's like more than doubling in less than 4 years. So, and this was my analysis, and I've been talking to my neighbors, and they have similar questions. So, thank you for listening.
Thank you. Anyone else before back to the consuls? No? Any consular have any final thought? Consular Sarah, before taking the motion?
So it's difficult because we're considering one measure before another. I think that they both should be increased. I do not support the $10,000 for the council. I do agree with the holistic thought that we have to take into account the total increase and how that affects the budget, as we already went down that road in last meeting, and that was met with a veto because of fiscal responsibility. It's not time to discuss the Section 2-18, the council salary, but I would support a school committee salary of $5,000 with the, obviously the chair at $5,500, and I can discuss what I feel that the council salary should be when we get there. It will be less than what's listed on the public hearing, but obviously we're not having that deliberation yet, so I just wanted to put that out there.
Can you please put the motion in writing?
Yes. Yep.
Any other council before taking the motion? And not Councilor Kuczynski.
I feel compelled to address the issue of the optics, it's never a good time, and it never has been throughout Councilor Derby 2004 onward. It's never a good time to raise salary. And we've seen times where there have been huge cuts. And we've always had a council that has been sitting comfortably, making the decisions for the city. So it's real easy for people who are comfortable to make decisions that, well, I have a good health insurance. There is no health insurance plan offered in this. In Northampton, there's a health insurance. You're eligible for health insurance. If you're a member of the council, if you're a member of the school committee, you're eligible for health insurance. That benefit alone is worth between $7,000 and $10,000. So when we talk about equity, we must realize we're really low on all our salaries. And that's why I wanted to get the ball rolling and on this matter. I know Councilor Zaret had proposed $10,000 in the last term. I thought that was high at the time. I intend to make an amendment, but that's another matter, on the 10,000 and address to 7,500 tonight.
Have to be in writing.
But that's
later.
Another matter.
Yep.
Do I think that the school committee has to be at the same? I don't think that has to be the case. Do they work hard? Absolutely. Believe me, if anyone here knows, I know because I lived with it. I lived with it. And I lived with it through all the times. And my wife still doesn't tell me things that were going on because it was confidential. And that's the way it is. So yes, were things hacked, but I remember here the discussions about sanctuary cities. I remember the discussions about very serious topics over the last 6 or 8 years. Councilor Derby, I think I can attest to that. That this is not like, okay, we don't have the same kinds of issues. We do, and there's further responsibilities for councilors. Anyway, I wanted it to be known that there are wealthier communities, and it's more of the same. I think East Long Meadow, one comment was that East Long Meadow, they get higher incomes. Well, yeah, they have higher incomes. And so I haven't examined their council or their school committee, but my guess is you have comfortable people on those positions too. I'd like to open this up to people who may not be as comfortable.
We're going to take one more and we're going to take the motion.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I think the important piece of what we're also leaving out of this conversation is that, quite frankly, Easthampton has a smaller tax base, so therefore we have smaller salaries. I think that is just a key element and a key data point that we are not discussing in this matter, and I know we're going to go to a vote, but other cities have larger salaries, whatever, because they have a larger tax base. In terms of a $5,000 increase or a $1,000 increase, you know what? If it's going to be city council at $5,000, then I'm more than happy to make it $5,000 for the school committee as long as it's equitable. But if we're talking about equity and we're talking about being fair, then I support a $6,000 increase, and that honestly is a 100% increase to what their salary was 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. So also, I think this has been mentioned by someone who spoke. Our teachers just also went through a negotiation, also at 3%. I think this is generous. I think it is an indication that, yes, times are hard, and yes, people are making sacrifices, but people are also doing this because they want to give back to their community. Right? And I think that we're also making a huge assumption in terms of by making this high salary, it opens up opportunity for other people. There are a lot of people in this community who are also able to do this job, but we're making assumptions that various people in this community might be poor. But I think the reason why they're not wanting to be a part of these things is it also doesn't reflect an experience that they personally want to be a part of because of the way that how we talk about other people, right? Like, I think that's just a reality, right? I think we're talking in vague terms, but I also think that we're intentionally being vague about the lived experiences of various people in this community. So I think that 6,000 is fair. It's a modest increase, although it's double from 2 years ago. And the biggest thing I think we need to be considering here is the tax base, and we don't know what's coming financially to our city with a new administration. So I support the 6,000 as is, and that's what I'm going to support.
So Peak.
Thank you. So I will make a motion that in accordance with the Home Rule Charter, Chapter 4, Section 4-1E, the annual salary of the 6 elected members of the school committee be set at $6,000 per member, effective January 2nd, 2026, and that the salary of the school committee chair be set at $6,500, effective January 2nd, 2026.
Second. I have a motion and a second to change the chapter 2, section 2-17, school committee salaries. Any further discussion?
Motion to amend.
Councilor Sarat?
I motion to amend the original motion to read where the annual salary of the 6 elected members of the school committee to amend that to $5,000. And the salary of the school committee chair shall be $5,500 at the full 55 language written down.
I didn't hear a second, so
I'm sorry, second, yeah.
So we have a motion and a second to amend the original motion from 6,000 to 5,000 and from 6,500 to 5,500. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we're going to vote now for the amendment first. For those one in favor?
Aye.
Any against?
Aye.
No. Against? Any abstention?
Abstain.
Abstention. So let's do roll call.
County Denham, this is on the motion to amend.
This the motion to amend. If you say yes, we'll move it to from 6,000 to 5,000 and
no.
No.
Salem Derby?
No.
Omar Gomez?
No.
JP Kaczynski?
No.
Tom Peak?
No.
Brad Riley?
Abstain.
Tamara Smith?
No.
JT Terrell?
No.
Owen Zaret?
Yes.
Motion fails. Let's do roll call for the original motion from 6,000 and 6,500.
Salem Derby?
Yes.
Omar Gomez?
Yes.
JP Kaczynski?
Yes.
Tom Peak?
Yes.
Brad Riley?
Abstain.
Tamara Smith?
Yes.
JT Terrell?
Yes.
Owen Zaret?
No.
Connie Denham?
Absolutely.
Motion passes. Councilor Peak.
Okay, so the next one, we've sort of already discussed a bit in the context of the other one, but it would be to increase the city council salary to $10,000 with the salary of the president of the council going to $10,500. And once again, this would not be for necessarily any of us. It would be for whoever is holding office in January of 2026 after the next municipal election.
Any councilors want to make a comment? Councilor Smith?
I just think it's way too much of an increase when I look at when I was a counselor in the previous terms that I served to now. This already feels like a really big jump, and I do not feel that I need thousands of more dollars in compensation. I just don't understand why all of a sudden this is an emergency to have our salary so high. I've never heard a single counselor complain that we are not receiving enough of a salary. So I just don't think that that jump is warranted, and I don't think we have the funds to do so. I don't think it's a prudent measure at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Councilor Derby?
So when I first ran, and I think we pulled papers in 2003 maybe, I thought it was a volunteer position to be a city councilor. I mean, it was kind of close. I think we ended up getting $1,000 a year or something. It paid for my car insurance, and that was really helpful. So when I found out that I had my car insurance covered at the time, I had 3 little kids, it did help me. But my intention to become a city councilor was not because I thought I was going to get paid. And I kind of still feel the same way. I feel that the work that we do is based more about like our willingness to try to serve our community and not necessarily the need to get compensated for that. I think that as I've raised my family and stayed on the council, it was helpful as we got small incremental raises to be able to keep doing it. So I think that is kind of an important thing, but I think where we are right now, especially now that the school committee will have, there'll be parity between the council and the school committee, I think that that's a good thing. And I don't necessarily feel that we need to give ourselves or the future selves a big raise. So, I'm fine with where we are, and that's just my thoughts.
Councilor Terrell?
I just want to say, I was against any raise for counselors in subcommittee and finance, and I remain against any raise. The council just received a raise this last term beginning, and I'm sorry, but if you're doing this for the money, you shouldn't be doing it. I'm sorry, but I will be voting against this councilor raise.
Councilor Peak?
Yeah, so I have a few thoughts on this, and if I start to ramble, somebody cut me off. So I'll get to the point. I'm not going to vote for this, and I'm not going to vote for, I'm not really going to vote for any raise to the city council salaries at this time. But I also think that virtually everything that Councilor Kwasinski said, I think there is some merit to. I do think it is true that if you really apply yourself to this job, you are probably working a number of hours where your actual compensation from this is well under minimum wage. And as somebody who is a fan of the idea of people being compensated, like I don't love that. And I also think that while most people's decision to run or not run for the city council has very little to do with, with the stipend, it wasn't something I was not aware of it when I pulled papers. I do think that there could potentially be people in our community who would rather do this than an equivalent amount of work at say picking up a second job, and that isn't an option because they will make less than they would working minimum wage. I just want to acknowledge that what Councilor Kwasinski was saying when he put this forward is, in my opinion, true. There probably are people who don't see this as an option because there's something else they could do that would bring more money, and that's a need for them. And I do think that it is like for the amount of work that this can be and has been at times, like it is a pretty small amount of money. What I would also say though is that if you look at what a lot of our city employees get made, you could say the exact same thing. There's a lot of people in the city that when I learn what their salary is, I'm like, that's ridiculous. There's no way I would do that work for that money, but they do it, and everyone benefits from it, and it sucks. It's part of the reality of being a small city. Now, I do think that going forward, I proposed this in the meeting, and I might, if I'm here next term, I might propose it again. I do think that it might be a smart idea for these bodies to start building in the idea of small, like very small, like 2% incremental raises over time. Because one thing that does happen and has happened before is that we don't address this for 10, 15 years, and then just inflation comes, and it comes to a point where, okay, now to just sort of catch up with everything that's happened since the last time you wanted to have this conversation, you now have to do what in percent terms is a very large raise, and the optics to that, coming back to the broader point, suck. And so we find ourselves in this situation. So I do think that, if you want to avoid that, there might be some value in doing that over time. I don't think that right now at the end of the year is the proper time to necessarily get into the weeds on that. And I don't think that anyone that's on, the current, I don't think that what we get paid is egregious in comparison to what our city employees get paid for their labor. Like, everyone is getting paid less than they deserve. That's just an unfortunate reality of the situation. So I'll be voting no, but once again, I want to say, there's a lot of things that Councilor Kwasinski has said, that Councilor Zaret has said in favor of increases, that I just want to make it clear I don't disagree with those points. It just kind of is the situation that it is.
Councilor Denham?
Thank you, Mr. President. So I want to respond to a few things. First, when I took this job, I ran for this position, I understood that this is not my full-time job, right? In fact, in my full-time job, I got a cost of living increase. That's what that job is for me. This job is an opportunity for me to give back to my community. And I don't place expectation on residents and taxpayers of this community to fill perceived loss of income that I might be getting if I did something else in lieu of this, right? This is my choice to be here. I am choosing to be here because I want to give back to my community. Also, I think that it is important to recognize that, within this city, there are positions that people leave because the pay is not what they deem fair, and it is low. And therefore, you have departments like DPW that go without filled positions because people don't want to do that particular work because it doesn't pay enough. So what seems to me like a good thing to do would be to say, okay, let's take this $42,000 that we're wanting to hold for ourselves and shift it towards, hey, Mayor, we should put that towards lower paying jobs within this city to make sure that those individuals stay within this particular job. There's also opportunities that people are looking for that it would expand the work of the park. This is half of a salary that we are taking for our own benefit for positions that, as has already been articulated, that we are fine. We're okay financially as individuals. And so I think it's important to recognize that this money that we are saying is going to be going towards or for these expanded salaries could be used for other things in the city, and it would amount to a reduction in services or a reduction in other salaries for other individuals who work within the city, who our role is not that hard. It's not that difficult. The only thing that we are actually expected to do is go to 2 city council meetings and go to 2 subcommittee meetings. Anything that you do beyond that is your choice. That is your choice to do those things. And so, I take on working with President Gomez, and I know Councilor Smith is also open to working with us, the Municipal Leadership Academy, which the application is open. If you want to apply for that, that would be great. But the point is that's 9 weeks, 2 hours a week. That's a whole additional committee meeting throughout the course of a year, compacted in a short amount of time. That's okay. That's what I want to do. That's how I want to engage with the community. That's my choice. And that's why I run, is to engage other people in this community. Not to get money or whatever, right? I want to be able to give back, and this is so excessive. It's just excessive.
Thank you, Councilor Riley.
Thank you, Mr. President. As I had said in my comments for the previous amendment, my primary concern is ensuring pay equity. And I feel that the vote that you all took, for me, brings this school committee up to pay equity with city councilors. I know that others disagree with the scope of work and whether or not we should be paid equally. That is how I feel. For this specific ordinance, I'm not interested in voting on any increases for city council stipends at all until we can do both at the same time with the same dollar amount. The other thing too that I would like to do, because I recognize that the school committee does not get a say in their potential salaries for re-election like we do. And I know, yes, technically we are not voting for our salaries. This is for the people that take office in 18 months from now or 2 years from now. The fact of the matter is we had one person on the city council that actually ran against somebody last term. So yes, in theory, we are not voting for our own salary increases, but we actually are because we all run unopposed. And I think that's an element that needs to be considered. So with respect to the school committee, so I had a conversation with a school committee member and I decided that I wanted to use their feedback as my feedback to give them a voice because they don't have a voice at the table right now. And I think going forward, and this will be after me because this is my last term, that we should be looking at increasing school committee salaries and city council salaries when the COLA increases occur. I think that's a fair time for us to consider when we're increasing our salaries and to do it to the same degree that all employees are. So if it is 2% COLA increase, then I would support school committee and city council getting a 2% increase. And I know we're talking minuscule dollars when $6,000, what 2% is. It's a little bit at a time, but I think that's fair, and I acknowledge the feedback from that school committee member. I think that makes sense, and I just wanted to honor their opinion because they don't get the opportunity to weigh in. So, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, with respect to what was just said before me, I think that part of the problem is that we have this separate charter-driven process for the city council that lies within the city council. So I think it is important when we look at other stipended positions to make sure that we do the best job possible to engage them when the process comes around, and we should be forward thinking about whoever the next council is that does this again, if they choose to do this in the next term, that they should really be engaging and surveying the other committees and commissions that have stipends as well, just to make sure that they're gathering that information far ahead of time. I think that part of the reason why we're here in the first place, as has been noted and as we discussed at the previous deliberations at our last meeting, is because we fell far behind on really evaluating this process and basically ran into deferred maintenance with these stipends. And so it becomes very difficult to figure out, A, what they should be, and then B, if you decide what they should be, exactly how to get there, because every jump seems like a lot, and then if you say that you don't want to raise it, then by the time you get around to making a good concerted effort to raise it again, you're so far behind again that subsequent jump seems like a lot again. So it's kind of like this never-ending cycle, which at some point we have to figure out how we're going to break it. I think everyone who's here certainly, and I think everyone who I've ever known who's run and held office here has done so because they want to serve the city, and I think that there's a lot of weight in terms of what all of us do here for the city council and what people do for the school committee, as we noted before. And there is a duty established upon us that the decisions we make need to then be well-informed and to be best informed. And so the process of doing so takes time. And I think a lot of that is where, at least in my mind, some of these stipends come in. We have to take on knowledge that we possibly didn't have. We have to interview people. And yes, we have certain base requirements, but to really fully do the job, I think, and fully serve the community, we have to spend a substantial amount of time outside of meetings, engaging with the public and engaging with our constituents. As I mentioned previously, and I can expand on now more, I do feel at this time that for a variety of reasons that the $10,000 recommendation is probably too high. We probably need to do a study to determine at some point what all these salaries should be, and I think that came up again from our deliberations at the last meeting. At the last time that we discussed this as a council, there was some kind of back of the napkin math that was suggested that if we look at city council salary and we assume that we spend approximately 10 hours a week at $15 an hour, then that comes out to approximately $7,800 a year. I think that's probably too high in the current context of what we're discussing with financial responsibilities to the city. I think $7,500 would be reasonable. I don't get the sense, listening to the deliberations here, that we'll get there tonight, but that's what I'll at least recommend. And as with the conversation last time, I'm just glad that we're all able to give our input and come to these, to have these very enlightening discussions, both for the public as well as to really ground ourselves in terms of what our values are here as elected officials, but also recognize the gravity of the job.
Thank you. Councilor Kuczynski, and then the public.
One second. An argument was made that, well, the people here are the same people running. Right. I say that's right. I say I don't think we made the right jump the last time. I really do. If we had made the jump to Councilor Zaret's recommendation, you might see a change of interest. I really am afraid that we're going to get well-to-do people who don't need to be here. And I'll say this, Councilor Derby, you talked about the salary when we started. You know, I didn't cash a check. Money was coming in. I built up 10 or 11 checks in my desk drawer. I'm not doing this for a salary. Well, that was me. I was working full-time. I had a job. I was making a good living, had a business. When you don't need the money, you don't. Oh, I didn't cash the checks. You can ask the city treasurer at the time. She said, please, would you get over it and cash the checks because you're really messing up the books. And I said, okay. So that's the perspective, especially of new people who haven't immersed themselves necessarily in all the nuances of city council, in all the laws, in all the legislation, in all the state laws, the federal laws. It becomes a lot of work. And then as times have changed and we've had some real contention over the years, I saw it. And I saw people drop off. Maybe they wouldn't have dropped off if we offered a fair wage or fair compensation, but they dropped off. And not necessarily for good reasons. But this can be a very difficult situation. I'll say it. Some others may not be able to say it, but I'll say it. It just can be very contentious. What really has exacerbated the situation is the new Massachusetts Supreme Court ruling, which says that the public can say anything they want to to any one of us, any elected official, and rightfully so. You shouldn't be able to sit back and say, and be insulated from the public saying, you're a rotten bum, you're a creep, I think you're so far off. That's fair game, but you can use any language you want. Say basically anything, but threaten somebody's physical being. That's a lot to ask. To keep your cool, to be respectful, and to like the people you're working with. I can look around this table, and although we may disagree on a variety of issues, I like the people I work with. I know we have a committed group. I wish that we all weren't well-to-do. I would be willing to, in this climate, amend the amount, as I stated before. I think there should be an increase. And I will put that forth. I don't know if the 7,800, the 7,500, or whatever figure is appropriate, but we can discuss that. I look forward to what the public has to say.
Let's go to the public first, and then we can take the last comment, and we have to move on. Anyone from the public want to make a question or comments about this? Please state your name and address for the record. And Eric, I see you. I just want to let people know, people first in person and then people remote.
Hi, my name is Nathan Marquis. I live at 37 Holyoke Street. Thank you, Mr. President. After looking at the salary increase, I think going that much is a bit extreme. I believe that maybe something in the middle would be more appropriate. I also believe that school committees should be paid the same amount as city councilors. They do quite a bit of work. And if city council is going to be paid a certain amount, I strongly believe that school committee should be paid the same amount. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Rothschild of 73 Mount Tom Avenue. Listening to your discussion, I would just encourage you to maybe think creatively. Is there any way to increase equity, to have future counselors that make below a median income to get an additional stipend, to encourage people to run of all? But like when I ran, I agree with most of you, when I ran, I didn't even know there was a stipend either. I was kind of like, oh, it was just like an added extra. But I do feel the point that Councilor Kwiecinski's making, that for some people, it becomes a place where people of privilege can afford the time to sit, because we don't need to be making extra money with an extra job, but it would be nice too. So if you could think creatively maybe, and not just a uniform raise, I encourage that. Thank you.
Thank you. Eric? Eric? All right, I will take the last comment from the councilors. One more comment for every councilor who want to decide to talk. I think Councilor Denham want to say something.
Yeah, I just wanted to speak briefly to Councilor Riley's point. 99% of incumbents who run in Massachusetts are reelected, right? And so I think that if people want to have a more diverse council, they should step away. Because the reality is, the likelihood is you're going to be the benefactor of this stipend, this salary. And I think the reality is I think more people leave this council not because of the salary, but because of the way that they're treated. And I think that that's just the reality of this council. And so, again, we do this for a variety of different reasons, but this is way too excessive. I think there's a lot of unknown financial situation that we're going to be dealing with. And I think that part of how we set our salaries is based on what the tax base of this community is. Because if our tax base doesn't go up and we increase our salary, that means less funding goes to programs, goes to residents, et cetera. And we are supposed to be good stewards of the budget, which honestly is just limited. So I support not having an increase to the salary.
Pretty brief.
I'll be very brief. I'm just not sure how we maintain the same salary and get to where we really should be. And I think everyone would agree that, I don't know how anyone does 10 hours a week, but I suppose you could do 10 hours. I do 15 hours a week on average for city council. But let's say someone did 10 and we came up with, did the math, the napkin math, and came up with 7,800. We really should be headed there. And should we have the school committee with us at the same point? I think we should be headed there. To stop it now and to say, no, let's not do any increase, I think is a mistake. I think we should, maybe it makes sense to do, we move from 4 to 6, now we move from 6 to 7. I would move to have the salary be 7,000.
Thank you. Before Councilor Smith, Eric?
Hi, President Gomez. My apologies for the technical issues I had. Thank you for recognizing me. I just want to take a moment to recognize Councilor Denham and to applaud them for their passionate statement on behalf of the people who work for the city of Easthampton. We historically have underpaid our city employees so drastically, and I deeply value the work that all of you do as city councilors, as well as the elected officials on the school committee. However, we can't just underpay the people who go to work, come home every day with a sore back and dirt on their shirts, while we give each other raises. I'm deeply appreciative of Councilor Denham's statements. I agree with Councilor Terrell with his assessment that, if you're in this for the money, then that's not why you should be in it. I'm a very proud member of the Parks and Recreation Commission, an unpaid position that I'm deeply passionate about. And I'm very appreciative that all of you are deeply passionate about our city. And also, I agree with Councilor Peak that unpaid labor sucks. It does, it sucks. However, we all as a city, I believe, need to make sure that the people who work for us are paid not just a living wage, but more than a living wage before we give elected officials raises. Thank you. I appreciate your time, all of you, and happy holidays.
Thank you. Councilor Smith?
So, I guess the other thing that I want to say is that one thing that I've really noticed this term in comparison to other terms that I've served is there's a certain competitiveness for productivity. There's a certain desire for the council to tell everybody how much they are working, how much more they are working, and compare themselves to other councilors. And this competitiveness is toxic. I've seen it repeatedly. I've seen it this entire term. And I think part of the argument here is also rooted in that I am personally doing a lot more, and therefore I should be, and the rest of you should be rewarded for it. And I just think that we all really need to be mindful of that I agree, this is an elected position, and quite frankly, I could sit here and do absolutely nothing, do no due diligence, and just give my vote every time. It's up to my constituents to decide whether or not that is appropriate or whether or not I'm doing a good job. But to be told repeatedly by other counselors that they are doing a lot more than anybody else, including me, just rubs me the wrong way. And I feel like this salary increase also is part of that. It's bringing to light this supposed inequity among how much each of us individually are doing as counselors. And I do not think you can force that work from counselors as fellow counselors. I think that is something that is between the counselor and their constituents. And I just strongly feel that way. This is an elected position, not a salaried position in the way that we would look at other positions within the city. And our responsibility lies with our constituents, not with proving to other counselors our worth on the council. And I feel that that's a very big backstory of this particular salary increase. And I just want to name it and put it out there.
Thank you. Councilor Peak.
Okay, I move that in accordance with the Home Rule Charter, Article 2, Section 2-4A, the annual salary of the city councilors shall be $10,000 per member, effective January 2nd, 2026. The salary of the president of the council shall be $10,500, effective January 2nd, 2026.
Second.
I have a motion and seconds to amend the Chapter 2, Section -18, the city council salary. Any further discussion?
I just want to make a clarification for the public. The council in regard to employee salaries in the city, the only rule that we're able to have there is to approve the budget, and when it comes before us, to either approve changes in the pay plan or pay plan classification. I just think that's important, because I think if we had the opportunity to, if we were empowered somehow by charter to do it otherwise, I'm sure we would. So I just want the public to know that in regard to some of the conversations that we're here.
Any further discussion? Councilor Kozinski?
I would add to Councilor Jarrett's point that the only budgetary power we really have is to lower the budgeted amount. We do not have the opportunity to raise the amount. So I agree. I would be looking for additional funds for employees if that were something that we had the power to do. We do not.
Councilor Denham?
I think the comments related to employees' salaries is an acknowledgement of the privilege that we have, right? And so I think that if we're not acknowledging that we can't raise salaries and people are struggling and not making the living wage that they could, it is incumbent upon us to be in solidarity with that. Instead of just saying, well, you know what, I do a lot, I'm going to give myself a raise. I don't think that that's how municipal governance works. I also don't think being a human being, I don't think that that's how we should think about this work.
I'm going to take a roll call. Barbara?
Omar Gomez?
No, because I want the same salary.
Yes, so this is going from.
Yes, if you say yes, we're increasing to 10,000. If we say no, it's going to stay the same.
I move to amend the amount from 10,000 to 7,000.
Second.
We have an amendment from 10,000 to 7,000, and just everybody 7,000 and 7,000 and 7,500.
7,000 and
7,500.
Council President?
Yeah. Any further discussion for the amendment? No. We're voting just for the amendment. Roll call.
Omar Gomez?
No.
JP Kaczynski?
Yes.
Tom Peak?
Yes, for the amendment.
Brad Riley?
No.
Tamara Smith?
No.
JT Terrell?
No.
Owen Zaret?
Yes.
Connie Denham? No. Salem Derby?
No.
Motion fails.
6-3.
Yep. Now we're going to vote for the motion for the 10,000. Barbara?
JP Kaczynski.
No.
Tom Peak.
No.
Brad Riley.
No.
Tamara Smith.
No.
JT Terrell.
No.
Owen Zaret.
No.
Connie Denham. No. Salem Derby.
No.
Omar Gomez.
No. Motion fails. I will take a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to close public hearing. Any further discussion? Seeing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Abstention? Motion passes. We have a presentation for the Affordable and Fair Housing Partnership. Please state your name and address for the record and give us a presentation.
All right, let me just plug in here.
I think we'll be, all right, let's do it. Will be easier for the public.
All right. Thank you, councilors, for your time this evening. A lot of you may know me already, but my name is Chaim Jamrog McQuaid. I'm a resident at 8 Jones Drive, and it's my privilege to present to you the work that the Easthampton Housing, or Affordable and Fair Housing Partnership has been working on over the past year. I've had the privilege of leading this report, so I'm excited to share it with you. And this is just a 10-minute overview. The full report is nearly 50 pages, and I hope has been delivered to you guys to read. And at the end, I'll take questions if that's allowed, or you can forward your questions to email. So first of all, I think we can all agree that housing has gotten far too expensive in Easthampton. Recent sales in town show us what the housing market is starting to look like. This is a poll from Zillow, so some of the top end of the market over the past several months. I also don't think it should be controversial that housing should be affordable for all residents. So data is showing that 48% of renters and 40% of homeowners in Easthampton are considered moderately or severely cost burdened. So that's spending more than 30% of their income or 50% of their income on housing, respectively. This has the effect of pushing existing longtime Easthampton residents out. So you can see on these graphs at the top, that's the renter cost burden. The orange is the 30%. The red is people paying 50%. And then on the bottom, you can see the owners. So some of this can be attributed to national trends. The cost of construction materials has skyrocketed, et cetera. But as you'll see in the report and in this presentation, much of the issue is driven by choices made at the local level. And I and the Affordable and Fair Housing Partnership strongly believe that we can and should make different choices. So how did we get here? You can see here is an Easthampton zoning map. This is the current zones that we have set up. I think a good example for the brief presentation we have here is to look at the R40 district. I'll direct you to look at sort of the bottom wedge of the map where it's yellow and then where it's overlaid in like cross-hatching, where it says R40, where the Plains neighborhood is. Most people will know it. Our current zoning ordinance sets large single-family lots as the standard, creating requirements that classify most of these existing neighborhoods as non-conforming. So you can see at the top here is our table of area requirements, listing the required lot area as 40,000 square feet, the frontage 120 feet, and the setbacks for the side and rear. So you can see in the picture here from Morin Drive in the Plains, those neighborhoods don't meet that current zoning. And this is borne out in the data. So in the bottom right, you can see a histogram made from pulling Mass GIS parcel data. And you can see the red line there shows where the requirement is. And all of those homes on the left are residential lots, non-vacant, currently in the R40 district that fall below that requirement. So an overwhelming 88% of non-vacant residential parcels in the R40 district fall below the required lot size, and approximately 65% are less than half of the requirement. So this creates a lot of barriers. So any modifications to pre-existing non-conforming homes have to go before the ZPA or ZBA, which is a complex legal process. It's time consuming. It sometimes can require legal representation. It creates big barriers to people trying to modify their homes to fit their changing families. Moreover, newer homes are required to then be built on larger lots, creating the incentive for larger, more expensive homes to cover the costs to still make a profit for developers. So we can see this in real time or over the past several years. You can see on the bottom here on Hawley Circle, which is also in the R40 district, those homes are conforming to these new requirements and thus are significantly larger and more expensive than the older homes on the top left. And to put this into another perspective, you can see the picture on the right there that shows what the required lot size looks like overlaid on top of an existing neighborhood. So I would say, well, I'll say these dimensional requirements not only limit more diverse housing options, smaller homes on smaller lots like you'll see in the existing neighborhoods, but they also restrict neighborhood scale multifamily development like duplexes and duplex conversions by restricting them outright or requiring even more increased area requirements beyond what's reasonable. So the question that the Affordable and Fair Housing Partnership wants to ask is this the market we want to foster in the community we want to create into the future? If nothing changes, we will only see continued rising costs and more Easthampton residents priced out from the community they call home. We're talking about aging residents on fixed incomes who have lived here for decades. We're talking about young families or young people who grew up here and want to be able to afford and buy a home and raise a family. Our current policies are restricting the housing supply and contributing to this rapid rise, as I said. And then we're also reinforcing a really damaging car-dependent development pattern. So I'll just mention this briefly. With bigger lots, with suburban sprawl, you have longer trips, more car emissions. So in fact, the Easthampton Climate Action Plan and the analysis done by Weston and Sampson found that a whopping 38% of our greenhouse gas emissions are coming from private gasoline vehicles. So addressing car dependence is one of the top strategies that we can take as a city to address our environmental footprint. We're a designated climate leadership community, and we can set a better example, and we should. This is identified in the Climate Action Plan as well. Municipal Action 10 clearly states that the city should review and revise existing zoning and policies to better enable climate-friendly and supportive zoning. So what can we do? That's what the Easthampton Affordable and Fair Housing Partnership has been working on for the past year. In response to these issues and in alignment with the goals defined in the Housing Production Plan and in the Climate Action Plan, the Affordable and Fair Housing Partnership has worked over the past year to produce a comprehensive zoning recommendations report outlining a path forward for a more affordable, walkable, and sustainable community. The recommendations are designed to support a greater range of housing choices, reduce car dependency, and ensure Easthampton remains a welcoming community for people of all incomes and life stages. I think we can all agree on that. The goals that inform this work were incremental upzoning and infill development that's responsive to community concerns, removing barriers to affordable housing, increasing freedom of land use for homeowners and families that want to modify their homes, and climate change mitigation and adaptation. And then these are some of the highlights of the recommendations detailed in the report. There are numerous, but these are just some of the main ones. So that involves reducing dimensional requirements such as lot size, setback, and frontage requirements to reflect the density of existing neighborhoods or even allow for slightly increased density. Increasing flexibility of land use to allow duplexes by right in all residential zones and subject to the same area requirements as single families. And then also allowing neighborhood scale retail in residential zones to reduce car dependency and walkability or increase walkability. And then also removing redundant barriers to affordable housing, such as parking minimum requirements and per building unit caps, which are already sort of made redundant by other restrictions on building form and size. And there are a number of other recommendations made that are mainly housekeeping, language updates, and updating to compliance with new state laws that you'll see in the report. But I'll say the recommendations fully outlined in this report are a bold but pragmatic vision to encourage more housing options, lower costs, and ensure that our neighborhoods develop in a way that reflects Easthampton's values of affordability, walkability, and sustainability. Our zoning needs to reflect our current housing needs and the values of the community we want to be in the future, not just the policy priorities from 50 years ago that created the current requirements for financially and ecologically unsustainable suburban sprawl. This proposal is designed to spark meaningful discussion about much needed local ordinance change, and we welcome additional ideas and look forward to collaborating with the City Council and the Planning Board to further strengthen these proposals and work toward the shared goal of a thriving Easthampton community. And then I have my email there that you can direct questions to. I'm also willing to take questions now. But I want to be respectful of your time.
Thank you. We are not doing questions today because we have it on in our package. So what we're going to do is at the end of the agenda, we're going to send it to a committee. We encourage you to show up to those meetings. I'm pretty sure the chairperson of that committee will invite you and invite the committee to the partnership to participate in the process, and then we're going to have discussion there, and the public will be able to participate in those discussions too.
I don't have a question. I just want to thank the committee for the presentation. It was great.
Thank you.
Hard work.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Communication from elected officials. We'll start with Councilor Riley.
Let me get some water really quick. Thank you, Mr. President. So recently in my full-time job, I was on a research assignment that was looking at the commercial determinants of health, which is when products are designed intentionally or unintentionally that cause health complications for specific populations. One such case study by Dr. Rebecca Svazo of Melbourne, Australia, identified positive correlations between women's mortality from major cardiac episodes and the lack of female mannequins in CPR first response certification courses. As I'm sure all of you may recall, we've only ever been trained on adult males and children's bodies. The glaring issue is that a person's breasts must be accounted for when doing chest compressions or using defibrillators. Research shows that citizens who were first responders did not know what to do or performed first response procedures incorrectly due to a lack of proper training in CPR first response certification courses. So with the inclusion of Councilors Denham and Smith and with support from our 5th to 8th grade health teacher, Ann Talley, I reached out to Chief Norris to discuss the possibility of purchasing female mannequins and to specifically address women's bodies in CPR first response certifications that take place at the public safety complex. I'm happy to share that our fire department is collaborating with Community 911 in Turners Falls, which provided us with the links necessary to make these purchases. Once the mannequins arrive, the fire department will conduct a training with the trainers to ensure that our curriculum going forward reflects the inclusion of all bodies. If these materials arrive in time, our fire department will be teaching the new curriculum for the CPR classes being held on January 6th and January 8th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. So with that being said, I wanted to extend my gratitude to Chief Norris and the entire fire department for their willingness to recognize a systemic problem and to find a rapid solution. Women in our community will have greater odds of surviving cardiac events because of this work. So thank you, Chief Norris.
Thank you. Councilor Sarrett.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to recognize and thank the Friends of the Easthampton Dog Park, the Parks and Rec Commission, former planners, current members of the planning department, other stakeholders for voting to bring a dog park to Nunatak Park. I remember sitting in conference room B in the basement about 6 years ago with members of the police department who informed us about a Stanton grant that could be used to fund a dog park. Director Mason and another commissioner at the time, as well as Planner Bagg. And I know that Councilors Kwasinski and Peak remember some of the conversations that we had in Property Committee back during my first term about this, as well as some of the circuitous paths, kind of chasing our tails, so to speak, to make this a reality. We've gone through multiple iterations of park commissions, we've gone through multiple iterations of the council, and it's good to see both the persistence, the perseverance, and the advocacy to make these kinds of things happen. I think it's a good lesson in all of those, as well as the fact that government does move slowly, and certain things happen at the right time. I want to thank Councilor Denham, who I know has been, since their first term, very involved in this measure as well. And I think it's always a good example of that we do our best work together. And that the more voices that were lent to this conversation, I think, is what pushed this forward. So it's just a vote. They've approved a site, which I think can be found in many places. I'm sure this will be in the media soon. We as a council probably have to think soon about how to support funding for that. And again, as a city, working together to make this a reality. But I just wanted to thank the people historically and acutely who made this happen. And again, significantly, the Joan Kurtz and the entire Friends of the Easthampton Dog Park for all of their work to keep pushing forward, keep barking up the right trees. And again, the Parks Commission for seeing the vision of a park in Nonotuck Park and voting in the affirmative. So thank you. And thank you again to everyone who supported this.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Denham.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, just want to remind folks that we're still collecting the last couple days for those who want to participate in the Municipal Leadership Academy. It's a great opportunity. Chief Norris participated in that. All the department heads participated in that. It's a great opportunity for residents to learn about departments, learn about budgets, learn about their work, get tours of the various facilities, and you know, have a clearer and better understanding of the work that the employees of this city are doing for you. And so that application can be found on the city website. If you just go to the city website and you go into the search bar and you search Municipal Leadership Academy, it'll take you to the description of information about it and an application that you can fill out. You can either email me that application, but best if you turn it into the city clerk or the mayor's office, and we will get that. But great opportunity to learn about the city, and want to thank President Gomez and Councilor Smith for working with me on that. And President Gomez, I said President Gomez, but I should say Representative-elect, who will be joining us for that. So looking forward to that opportunity to see how municipal government actually also connects at the state level. So very exciting. I hope people take advantage of this. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Kuczynski.
I wanted to extend my congratulations to the counselors involved in getting the Municipal Leadership Academy really moving. I think it's a great way for citizens, for residents of the city to find out more about the community, about the specifics of government. It is a great, fabulous learning experience. I encourage your participation. Thank you, and I wanted to acknowledge just how important that is to our community. For Councilor Zaret's comments, I wanted to say ditto to everything about the dog park. I'm sure Councilor Derby, who was there at that meeting, it's been a long haul. I hate to say it, but it ain't over. We still have work to be done, and we need to be able to stay focused and ready to move on this. The community still needs ways of making all this come together and work, and that's now our task to help with. So congratulations to everyone who's worked so hard. I say keep pushing.
Thank you, Councilor. Now, communication from the President and Vice President. I did receive an email from the mayor after the city council, after the last city council meeting, the city council vote to increase the salary mayor for the next term. As a part of the ordinance, the mayor have to approve or disapprove. Mayor LaChapelle disapprove it, so she veto it, and today we're going to review it. Mr. Vice President Derby is going to read the reasons why Mayor LaChapelle veto the ordinance, and then if the council decide, we're going to vote to override the veto.
And so we did receive an email to President Gomez. The increase as proposed by the City Council are inconsistent with the city's fiscal goals and best practices for compensation. With gratitude, Mayor Nicole LaChapelle. So we did receive that written explanation.
And at the same time, the same day, the mayor sent an email to our council clerk and to the city clerk notifying she vetoed the ordinance. I will ask if the willing of the council is to vote to override the veto. So I will take a motion if that will be the willing of the council. Vice President Derby?
Thank you, Mr. President. So this is a little bit difficult for me. As I presided over the last meeting, I found myself in a situation where I was feeling a lot of emotion, and that emotion carried with me since that last meeting, and I felt compelled to write a statement that kind of talks about some of the procedure that happened that night, and I think that I would like to read that if it's to frame this discussion. Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to express my profound disappointment and concern regarding comments made at our last December 4th City Council meeting about raising the mayor's salary on 12/4/2024. The statement, which happens at 35:50 on the Easthampton media video, stated that a councilor stated that we have not tried to pay our current mayor in the middle of her term more money because she is a woman. And then followed that assertion that because men have expressed interest in being mayor, we want to raise the salary $30,000. To me, this is deeply troubling. While I appreciate the acknowledgement of the very real and pervasive issue of gender-based pay inequity, I must take strong exception to the implication that I or others on the council would support or condone such discrimination. The councilor's remarks insinuate that gender bias has influenced the decision not to adjust the mayor's salary sooner, which has never been done before, at least not in my 20 years. And that raising it now is somehow a corrective measure for future male candidates. This logic seems... Let me be clear, I would never, under any circumstances, think to pay a woman less for doing the same work as a man. To do so would not only be discriminatory, but also fundamentally against the values I hold dear. Discrimination of any kind is wrong. I believe this to the very core of my being, and I was also part of the group that wrote the anti-discrimination resolution that we passed multiple times at this council. My personal experiences bear witness to these values. I was raised in a household where my mother was the breadwinner and my father was a stay-at-home parent. This dynamic instilled in me a deep respect for women's competence, strength, and leadership. Throughout my life, I've been fortunate to have had extraordinary women as role models and mentors who shaped my character and professional ethos. Working with these women inspired and guided me. Strong and powerful women have influenced my education, my career, and my personal growth, and I'm forever grateful to their contributions. To hear a counselor acknowledge and name gender bias where none exists is both insulting and counterproductive. Acknowledging and naming systemic inequities is a crucial step in addressing real issues, but doing so without evidence or justification diminishes the importance of such actions. It creates division, undermines trust, and detracts from the legitimate work of dismantling actual discrimination. I firmly believe that raising the mayor's salary should be based on fair and objective considerations such as the scope of responsibilities, the need to attract qualified candidates, and alignment with comparable positions in other municipalities. Gender should have no bearing on this decision whatsoever, whether for the current mayor or for future candidates. As a community, we must commit to addressing inequities where they truly exist, but we must also guard against unfounded assertions that sow distrust and undermine our shared values. I urge all members of this council to focus on fostering genuine equity and fairness without resorting to divisive rhetoric.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. That was a Vice President communication. I just want to remind everybody that we are going to vote to override the veto. If you say yes, the motion that passed at the last meeting stands. If we say no, the veto stands.
Okay.
I will take a motion, Councilor Peach.
One point here. this is my second time dealing with a veto in 4 terms, so if this is a silly question, then I do apologize. I guess where I'm having a little bit of a challenge is that, like, the mayor's saying that the salary is not in keeping with sort of the, I'm blanking on the exact wording that you used, but the sort of city targets around compensation, which is like, I don't know what those are. So, and I guess what I'm wondering is if there was a different number that were in line with that, I would be open to looking into that. But I guess I feel like we're now in a situation, like I'd be okay on walking back the salary increase to a lower number if that lower number was in fact in line with what the city, sort of citywide policies, which they may be available to me. I'm not aware of where they are, and they were never made available during this deliberation. Despite the fact that there are always folks from the mayor's team there. And so that's what I'm a little bit nervous of, is that we're, like, say that we vote, I stand by the numbers as appropriate, but say that we vote for this and it fails, and so the mayor's override stands, then whoever the next mayor is will be coming in without any increase. So I would be amenable to a compromise if there was a number that the mayor would support, but I just don't know where we are on that, and I don't know how to navigate that in this moment.
Okay, that's a great question. That's a great concern, and let me guide you after I talk to the city solicitor. It's a few things. When someone make a motion tonight, we're only going to vote for the veto. That's it. The only way that we can do something is suspending the rules, because we have rules about new items at the council, and we already vote as a council. We already vote, and we create an ordinance that we send to the mayor. So that is out of the committee. That's out of the council, right? So that will be a new item, because this is going to be a new item based on new numbers. Have to go back to the mayor. My understanding after talking to the mayor is the mayor is going to veto any increase to the mayor's salary.
Okay.
I just want to throw that there too. That was part of the discussion between the council president and the mayor to see if there was another possibility that if we change the numbers, the mayor would decide. The mayor's decision is going to veto any increase to the mayor's position. Being saying that, Again, I'm going to repeat it one more time before taking the motion. The motion tonight is to override the veto. To override the veto, they need 6 votes of the full council. If we don't have 6 votes, the veto stands. And again, if we want to create a new ordinance, they have a process in our rules. Has to go to a committee. The committee have to discuss it. Go back to the council, and we have to send it back to the mayor. At least we suspend rules. And when we can take that measure tonight without any input for the public, right? And I think that's what the process, we set the process and rules. That's what we're going to do tonight. If the council decides to suspend the rules, again, I want to give you a heads up. The mayor already said that she's going to veto everything that is going to increase the mayor's salary.
Any question?
Any clarification question about the process? Councilor Kuczynski.
If we vote to, let's say, there is enough votes to sustain the override veto, and then the measure's dead, then the salary remains the same.
Yep.
For the next 5 years,
for the 4 years.
1 year from now to 5 years from now. And that's the salary that we live with. The mayor's position is she's going to veto anything we do anyways. If you have relayed correctly, and I believe every word you say, and I see the acknowledgement over there.
The mayor's
so
here,
nice,
and she
nice
acknowledged
to
that.
see. Thank you, Mayor. I'm not sure we have the time, do we have to, would we have to?
We have to do it before December 31st.
In the action, we suspend what rule?
Suspend the rule is
Our
just
rule.
for the, introduce a new item.
Sure.
Right,
What
because
about
this
a
is gonna be
public,
new.
what about a public hearing?
It has to be before December 31st.
And then the public hearing would have to occur before December 31st, is that correct?
Because advertise a public hearing.
That we have to advertise the public hearing because
Right.
it's a new ordinance.
Right, so I just wanted to be sure that was in the game and we knew what the process was.
Yeah, it's a new.
Not enough time.
We don't have enough.
And if we don't have enough time to do both, then that answers the question for us.
So it's one or the other.
Yes.
So it's one or the
Just for
other?
clarification about the process.
Not about the process.
That was my statement too, was that the time frame is limited.
I will take someone have to make a
Oh,
motion.
may I make a clarification for the public though? Could we just let the public know what the salary then for the mayor will be in the
Does
next
someone have the
term?
numbers? For the next term,
For the
if
next
it
term,
stands,
yes.
the same way that is, if the motion fails, it's 90,000.
It will stay at 90,000.
It will stay
Wouldn't be no
90,000 for the
increase like
next
there was.
5 years. We need a motion.
To override the veto, I'll move, I move that we override the mayor's veto on this item.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to override the veto. Again, the yes is to override it. The no, the nays is they're basically to agree with the veto of the mayor. We're gonna do a roll call. Yeah, sorry, Councilor Kuzinski, you have any question about the process?
No, it's not about the process, it's about the consequence.
Okay.
And I just, before I voted, I wanted to be sure, since there isn't time to republish and get a different program, a different amount. Wow. We're stuck with, at the same salary for 5 years. That's weighing on me as an issue. So just wanted to be sure I was clear, and we'll make a decision.
Thank you, Councilor. Yeah, Councilor Darby?
Did we ever get clarification on, because I know at our last meeting, it was talked about raising a salary at a different time. Did we get clarification that it has to be, it does have to be, so you can't give any sort of, even if it's like premeditated months in advance or even before the election, it wouldn't be allowed? Okay, I just wanted to make sure that was known. Okay.
Any, Councilor?
I'll be very brief. In addition to the two conversations that we had earlier today, I firmly believe in pay equity, and the number that we came up with was comparable to the peers of the future mayor. I will not pretend to understand the motives behind this veto. The mayor has vetoed things that philosophically seem absolutely bonkers, but I am in favor of pay equity, and I'm going to vote in favor of this because it's the right thing to do.
Barbara, again, sorry, you want to say something?
No, is that, may I?
Yes, please.
I just wanted to echo, I think we're just in a tough position. I agree with Councilor Peak that were we able to somehow go back and find a number that was more agreeable to the council, even if there was a cloud of a veto hanging over it, if we could have come to an agreement that could bring a supermajority. We don't have that option right now. And I feel that to the point of the councilor's comment prior to me, that I just don't feel that the pay for the next 4 years of the next councilor's term would be fair and equitable based on the information that was in front of me. So I feel like I'm in a bind. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you, Councilor. Barbara? Sorry, Barbara. I just want to remind again to the councilors, the yes is to override the veto, and the no is basically to agree with Mayor. Barbara?
Tom Peak,
Aye.
Brad Riley,
Yes.
Tamara Smith,
No.
JT Terrell,
No.
Owen Zaret,
Yes.
Connie Denham,
Nope.
Salem Derby,
Aye.
Omar Gomez.
No.
JP Kuzinski.
Aye.
Meter stands. Mayor's communication?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a couple of quick things. One, I'd like to introduce to the council and public our new planner, Allison Manuel. I don't know if you want to come up and say hello quickly, but this is a position. We are extremely lucky to have such a strong candidate, and she's already hit the ground running.
Yes, thank you. So this is actually my first week, so day 3 here. A lot to learn. I'm very excited, though, to be a part of the team in City Hall, and I've had nothing but wonderful interactions with everyone, and it's just so reassuring. It's hard to start a new job, no matter what it is, but it's been a great 3 days. I've really enjoyed listening to all the thoughtful conversations tonight. And yeah, I'm grateful to be here and looking forward to working with you all more in the future.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. Congratulations.
Thanks for being here. Excellent. Okay. Also, the firefighters that were sworn in earlier tonight, Deputy Chief Benson meant to mentioned, they are only possible because of Chief Norris's leadership on getting a second SAFER grant that allows us to bring on those firefighters actually with 100% cost taken care of, which was even more than the first one. I'll submit the letter just given the time. I won't read it, but the city, along with mass retirees, has taken a strong position urging Senator Schumer to vote on the Social Security Fairness Act before January 20th. This is very important to the city of Easthampton as it closes a lot of loopholes, especially for municipal employees to gain but also retain retirement benefits, and has a fiscal impact on our own retirement board. Again, I'll pass the letter along with those who have copied. Just for the record, Senator Warren, Senator Markey, and Congressman Neal have also added onto this advocacy effort, and the House has already passed this measure that are really focusing on public servants and solidifying their benefits so they can depend on them. Lastly, I have been known to tear up at this podium. I'm not going to do it tonight in saying, transitional goodbye, hello. Instead, I will bring up Cindy Mojica for some words.
Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Cindy Mojica. I live at 14 Clark Avenue here in Easthampton. I am the half of the City Council President, Omar Gomez, and as the mayor started, so I would like to say some words since today is the last meeting that City Council Omar Gomez is presiding today. So I would like to begin my speech with a quote by a writer I greatly admire, Eddie S. Glaude, Jr. Tell the story, make it real for those who refuse to believe that such a thing can happen, has happened, and is happening here. This quote resonates deeply with me because it captures the essence of how and why we're here today. In the beginning, many doubted that it was possible for someone like you, someone with an accent from a humble background, to become a member of the City Council. Yet, you proved them wrong, you made it real. You shatter expectations when you become the first Latino elected to the Easthampton City Council. But you didn't stop there. You earned the respect of your peers and the trust of the community, which led you to your election as the council president. And now you're breaking barriers once again, becoming the first Latino elected to represent the 2nd Hampshire District. This story is not just a story of identity or labels, like diversity, equity, and inclusion hires, as some might reductively say. It is so much more than that. Your journey is a testament to dedication, consistency, and humanity. It's about demonstrating that everyone, regardless of where they come from, deserve a fair chance to reach their dreams. You have shown us that it's possible to turn dreams into reality, not just for yourself, but for those who you inspire. Thank you for showing us that these achievements are not possibly, but also transformative. Together, we can continue to make history and bring out real change. As I close, I want to leave you with another powerful reminder, this time from the words of James Baldwin. He who finds no way to rest cannot long survive the battle. Your journey has been one of relentless dedication, courage, and hard work. But even in the strongest among of us must take time to rest, to recharge, and to reflect. The battles we fight, whether for representation, justice, or opportunity, are not just sprints but marathons. It is in those moments of rest that we find clarity, strength, and the resolve to press forward. Let us all remember that self-care is not a sign of weakness, but a strategy for endurance. By balancing action with rest, we not only survive the battles ahead, but emerge stronger, wiser, and ready to keep pushing for the change we envision. Thank you for your leadership, your perseverance, and your example. Together, we can continue the fight and ensure that we all find the strength and endure and thrive. Thank you. Have a good night.
Mayor, does that conclude your report?
It does.
Thank you. And we've, to council communications, announced committee reports. Finance, Council Peak.
Thank you, Mr. President. We met last week, and in addition to the things that were on the public hearings, we discussed the retirement board request to increase the COLA base to $2,000 to $18,000. I did have a quick, does this require a public hearing? No. It does not? Then, okay, cool, let's do it. So yeah, basically, this only comes up every once in a while, so for some people this might be the first time they're hearing this, or for people like me, they might just have a little bit of a fuzzy memory of how this works. But for people who, retirees, they only receive COLAs on, there's cost of living adjustments on the money they receive up to a certain level. Right now, that level is $16,000. They want, the city is looking to raise it to $18,000, which will provide a bit of extra income to help our retirees handle inflation. There were questions about how this program would be, just sort of the fiscal impacts of it, and essentially the deal is that we would be doing this in addition to slightly decreasing our annual contribution to the fund, so that it's not, it actually is, the city saves a little bit of money and the retirees get a little bit of money. Of course, that doesn't mean that it'll take us a little bit longer to fully fund the retirement program, but our auditor and treasurer feel, and the retirement board all feel confident that we are in a place where we can afford to do this and that it'll be okay. We were all convinced by their assurances, so the committee voted 3-0 to recommend this change.
Any councilor have any questions?
Mr. President.
Councilor Kuczynski?
Each time I hear this, no matter how many times I hear the same story about the COLA, the cost of living adjustment based on $13,000, it was, I think, at one time, for the longest time, $10,000. $16,000. If you retired and your salary was $60,000, you work for the city or a municipality anywhere all this time, you're expecting that you're going to be treated fair. I think it's totally unfair to be treated and say that your cost of living adjustment will be based on this paltry figure. So I can't see how anyone would vote against it. I would ask my new state representative-elect to look into this matter and at least give communities the option so that they could study the matter for each community and come to a reasonable figure, because $16,000 or $18,000 is totally unreasonable.
Any other councilors? Is anyone from the retirement board that want to add something quick?
Yes, Mr. President. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for hearing us. I'm the chairman presently of the retirement board, and I just want to give you some figures. I won't take much of your time up. 38% of our 198 retirees make $18,000 or less a year. As you know, we are number 3 in Western Mass, our retirement board. There are others that are fully funded, the other in the state, and one in this Montague is fully funded. But we are doing very well. I have a report here from Prim, our investment. We're with the state investment. We're almost $7 million as of October 31st. We don't have November's data yet. So we're doing very well. We had a $12 million year in 2020. If you remember, I came in front of you in 2020 by Zoom. We were under the pandemic restrictions then, and we spoke by Zoom, and I appreciate your support. You supported us then and said very nice things about us, which I appreciate. And one other thing, you talked about Social Security before. Our pensions, we only get 40% of what we're eligible for Social Security. That's another reason. So somebody making $18,000 from the city and they're eligible for Social Security, they only get 40% of what they're eligible. I didn't know to do that under the windfall tax. There's 7 states that have that. And it's going to average, for somebody making the max of $18,000, it'll be only $540 a year. But there are people that are under that they will not make $540 a year more. They'll make less. So I appreciate your comments from Councilor Kozinski, and any questions I will answer if you have more. I know that Hadel's on with us. We have a wonderful board. We get along very well like your board does. And I have nothing else to say, but we're very happy, and we are well trained.
Thank you. Any councilor have any questions? Councilor Kozinski?
I'll be very brief. Just to be sure I understand this and the public understands this. If an individual had a part-time or a full-time job aside from their municipal job at any time in their career, and they had worked they had worked a number of years, 20 years, 15 years, 10 years, and they hadn't had the privilege of working for the municipality, they'd get their Social Security. Is that correct? They would get their Social Security.
If they didn't have a pension from the state,
if they didn't have a pension from the state or
municipal, you're correct.
Now, if we get your pension, which we're going to vote on the COLA whopping increase, they're going to be cut from Social Security by up to 60% of what they would get.
They are cut in 7 states.
Because they work for just wanted to be sure.
You're
I
correct.
understood that correctly, because I think this council should take a resolution, but that's another matter.
You are correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Peak?
Sounds like something our state rep should look into.
I don't know who's that.
Okay, I move to approve the acceptance of Chapter 188 of the Acts of 2010 Municipal Relief Act, Section 19/Chapter 22, Section 103J, inserted by Section 19 of Chapter 188, pertaining to an increase in the maximum base amount on which the cost of living adjustment is calculated, increasing the COLA base amount by $2,000. The current COLA base is $16,000 to new COLA base of $18,000 as approved by the Easthampton Contributory Retirement Board.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to increase the COLA base by 2,000 to 18,000. Any further discussion? Seeing none.
One quick question.
Councilor Riley?
How did the committee vote?
3-0 in favor.
Okay, thank you.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Abstention? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And congratulations, Mr. President. I'll personally miss you.
Thank you. Councilor Peak?
We're going to be meeting on the Monday, the 30th at 5:30 p.m. Because the next 2 Wednesdays are holidays, and we've got a couple items of new business that we would like to have ready for public hearings come the new year.
Perfect. Thank you, Councilor. Public Safety, Councilor Sarek?
Thank you, Mr. President. We met last week. I don't know why I just closed my agenda. We met last week, last Tuesday. It was Councilor Derby and I. Councilor Riley was unavailable. So we limited some of our conversation to items that we felt were for either information for the public or didn't require a full committee to discuss. We had Director Mason from the parks there to again review with him the proposal to reverse traffic direction on Daly Field Road. We also had a commissioner remote in to give their opinion as well. I think the commission generally has consensus that this is a good thing to do. There was a request at the beginning of this proposal that we make sure that we get ample public buy-in. And because of how this change could affect neighboring neighborhoods, we want to make sure that we have one more Public Safety Committee meeting that is as best advertised as possible to make sure that there's input from the public there. Councilor Derby and I discussed the fact that we do feel that this should ultimately reflect on the traffic rules and orders because these are roads within the city, even if they're in a park. And so we will set a public hearing for that probably sometime for February, but we could do that at a future date. But overall, again, to the public who haven't heard about this, this would be reversing traffic direction on Daly Field Road, which now currently comes down Williston and Lowndes and then goes into the park and then out on Daly Field Road. This would be reversing coming in by the old stone house and then out Lowndes and Williston, which makes a lot more sense in terms of safety and traffic flow. And so we'll have one more meeting at our next scheduled meeting, which is the second Tuesday in January, which is the 14th. We also discussed the proposal for a citywide speed limit. I think the general consensus is that this is a good idea. For public safety, but it's a value statement from our city that we want people to slow down. Ultimately, getting people to slow down is through a lot of messaging and the behavior of others to drive safely. But by setting that citywide speed limit to 25, I think at least it will, in theory, provide a more safe city and more safe roads. We have to hammer out exactly what that language is going to look like because there'll be exemptions and how we exactly want the wording to be. So we'll discuss that again at our next meeting. And then I have reached out to the fire chief. I think we'll probably have him in February for a quarterly review. And we will continue to review the traffic rules and orders, which we did not do in our last meeting because we were missing one of our valued committee members and spectacular clerk. So again, we will be meeting on January 14th, 2025, 6 p.m., likely in room 1, and thus concludes. What's our next meeting? That one's wrong.
No, everything's good.
Okay. Okay, thus concludes.
Thank you. Appointments, Councilor Riley?
Thank you, Mr. President. So I know we've had a long meeting. Unfortunately, appointment committee work is long in December. I'm going to try to get through this as quick as possible. So the appointment committee last met Monday, December 16th to discuss a variety of appointments and reappointments. Our first order of business was the appointment of Allison Manuel to the Director of Planning and Community Development with a term expiration date of December 16th, 2027. Allison has worked in the West Springfield Planning Department for 9 years, starting as a city planner and then also recently as the planning director. Councilor Smith and I took turns asking her questions about her experiences, moments she's most proud of, and even some difficult questions such as how to handle pressure from developers whose interests may not be aligned with the public, or how to have difficult conversations about land use and a sustainable future for Easthampton. Obviously, you heard from the mayor earlier that she supports this appointment. The HR department also signed off on hiring her, and the appointment committee resoundingly supported her appointment. So I move that the City Council appoint Allison Manuel to the Director of Planning and Community Development with a term expiration date of December 16, 2027.
Second. I have a motion and a second to this appointment. Any further discussion? Seeing none, those in favor? Aye. Any against? Abstention? Motion passes.
Also on our agenda was the City Council presidential appointment of Daniel Rist to the Community Preservation Act Committee with a term expiration date of December 31st, 2027. Words obviously cannot describe how intimately qualified he is to serve on the CPA committee. I can say that confidently he is the most qualified person in the city of Easthampton to serve in this capacity. Instead of giving a report, I'd like to turn it over to our council president if he has any further remarks about that appointment.
I cannot tell you this because he served in that committee for so many years. I think the committee is happy to receive him again. He served as a chairman of that committee for so many years, and I think they're ready to welcome him again. And as soon as I make the call, I offer the position to him. He was really happy to accept it. I think he is ready to I think he has more stuff to give to the community, and this is a way to do it. So again, I don't know way to sell it. This is easy.
Yeah. Perfect. So I am more than happy to move that the City Council appoint Daniel Rist to the Community Preservation Act Committee with a term expiration date of December 31st, 2027.
Second. I have a motion and a second for the appointment of Daniel Rist to the CPA committee for the expiration date December 31st, 2027. Any further discussion? Seeing none, those in favor? Aye. Any against? Abstention? Motion passes.
Thank you, Dan.
Welcome back.
Next on our agenda, we had 7 mayoral reappointments. Councilor Smith and I had no issues with these 7 reappointments, so unless there are any questions, I'd like to read them into a form of a motion. Okay. So I move that the City Council reappoint Yoshi Bird to the Affordable and Fair Housing Partnership, Russell Brand to the Agricultural Commission, Michael Serwick to the Aquifer Protection Committee, Rebecca Pasa to the Community Relations Committee, Felicia Jadzik to the Easthampton City Arts, Theodore Perch to Easthampton City Arts, and Michael Serwick to the Historical Commission, all who had term expiration dates of December 31st, 2027.
A second?
I have a motion and a second to reappoint those all members. Any further discussion? Seeing none, those in favor? Aye. Any against? Abstention? Motion passes.
All right, and then the last order of business considered the reappointment of Eric Poulin to the Parks and Recreation Commission. Based on concerns that I received from petitioners, appointees of the city, staff of the city, and members of the public, we as a committee voted 0-2 to reject Mr. Poulin's reappointment. Now, pursuant to Section 2-10 of our city charter, council review of certain appointments, quote, rejection by the city council shall require a 2/3 vote of the full council, except that an appointment to a multiple member body may be rejected by a majority vote of the full council. To clarify, the Parks and Rec Commission is a multi-member body, so this requires a simple majority to reappoint or to reject the reappointment.
And for the record, the motion has to be in positive.
That's correct. Yep. You look for that?
You have to make the motion.
Yes, okay.
So
the motion is to appoint.
To appoint, gotcha.
Yes.
You say we reappoint him, if we say no?
Yes. So that's what I wanted to say. So as a quick moment to educate the public and councilors, Though the recommendation of the committee was against his reappointment, motions must be made in the affirmative. So I will be making a motion to recommend that the city council reappoint Mr. Poulin. If you agree with his reappointment, you will vote yes. If you vote against his reappointment, you will vote no, or you may also abstain. So I move that the city council reappoint Eric Poulin to the Parks and Rec Commission with a term expiration date of December 31st, 2027.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to reappoint Eric Poulin to the Park and Rec Commission. Any further discussion? Councilor Derby.
Just to clarify, the appointment committee took a no vote on this.
That's correct.
So, okay.
Yeah.
So if we were going to follow the recommendation of the committee, we would vote no.
Correct.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilor Peak.
And you feel confident in that decision?
Yes. Any other councilor? For Councilor Kuczynski.
I'm standing because I think it's in good
That's
health
fine.
to stand
Yes.
every periodically, and I think we sit way too much. So I would recommend it to my fellow councilors, and I'm going to take advantage of it, and I hope the public
Standing desk.
stands more. I am just kind of taken by a bit of surprise here this evening with this measure. I would like more information. I also understand the sensitivity of the matter, and I would certainly hope that you would be more forthcoming if there wasn't issues of sensitivity. I'll just say that, and I take it then that there is no further information that you care to share this evening.
Yeah, so I will defer to Councilor Smith to respond to that question.
Councilor Smith.
So in the appointments committee meeting, when we were looking over the evidence, usually we just want to make sure that there have been no complaints about a person and that the committee is moving along well. In this case, we received 4 separate concerns about this reappointment. All of them stem to inappropriate body language, raising their voice and creating an intimidating environment to members of the committee. So we took that very seriously.
Thank you, Councilor Smith. Councilor Kuczynski.
That answers my question. Thank you.
Councilor Terrell.
I just wanted to say, as you know, I seconded the motion. I support the reappointment of Eric Poulin. I happen to have the pleasure of serving with him on the Park and Rec Commission for almost 2 years. And I think he brings a valuable knowledge base to that commission. I just wanted to state that.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other councilor? For those one in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those one against?
No.
No.
I abstain.
I abstain too.
I also feel like I need to abstain.
Do a roll call.
Okay, sorry. Brad Riley,
No.
I'm sick.
Tamara Smith,
No.
JT Terrell,
Yes.
Owen Zaret,
No.
Connie Denham. Aye. Salem Derby.
No.
Omar Gomez,
Abstain.
JP Kaczynski,
Abstain.
Tom Peak.
Oh, my.
Doesn't matter, motion fails.
What's up?
Motion fails.
The motion fails one way or another?
This is for no.
You need 5 yeses.
Oh, well, then I'll just abstain. I don't feel like I have enough information.
So
Motion,
what are you voting?
I'll abstain.
motion fails. Councilor Bryce.
All right, thank you, Mr. President. The appointment committee will meet next on January 6, 2025 at 6 p.m. to review the final mayoral appointments in Conference Room 2 here on the second floor behind City Council chambers, and thus concludes.
Thank you. Ordinance, Councilor Denham.
Thank you, Mr. President. We haven't met since our last meeting. We're meeting tomorrow at 5:15 in Conference Room 2. And that's everything that the committee has to offer council this evening.
Thank you, Councilor Denham. Property, Councilor Sarek.
We obviously have no items on the agenda, but there is pending new business, and so depending on whether that is moved to committee in the affirmative, I will work with the committee members to set meetings because of the sensitivity of one of the items and the kind of boilerplate nature of the other, they will probably be separate. So I'll work with the committee members after we go through new business, assuming that those are moved.
Thank you.
That concludes.
Rules and Government, Councilor Kuczynski.
The Rules and Government Relations Committee had a difficult time meeting. We were trying to get together, and finally we were able to do it. And unfortunately, I apologize, that was today we met. And so therefore, councilors may not have had a lot of time to study or think about the matter. But it was clear to me that the Rules and Government Relations Committee would like to be very open, transparent about filling the new position that's becoming vacated by our loss of Precinct 2 Councilor Omar Gomez, who we'll miss, by the way, very much. I will say that. That being said, we want to be sure that there is plenty of time for adequate consideration and for public input. And I've outlined a process and a timeline for filling that vacancy. If I may, Mr. President, read that. I think that would be the best way for the public to begin to understand, and hopefully the press will gather this and help us out. Anyone who wishes to apply for the Precinct 2 upcoming position who is a voter and resides in Precinct 2, please take note. There was no one who had run against Councilor Gomez who had had a sufficient number of votes to be automatically qualified, and there was no one who ran and received sufficient amount of votes in the at-large position. So that left it to the council to make this decision on behalf of the voters of Precinct 1 and, in fact, on behalf of the whole city. So it's now up to us to outline the process. Our recommendations at 3-0 are as follows. That starting tomorrow, December 19 through January 7, 2025, applicants who seek to be considered shall send a letter of interest along with a resume, if desired, to the Easthampton City Clerk by January 7th, 2025. That gives plenty of time for anyone to be out there to let it be known that they're interested. On January 13th, the 2025, there will be a special meeting of the City Council at 6 p.m. And that time, the council will hold the special meeting in a hybrid format, so the whole city and the public can be part of the process, observe and see what's going on so that they can become familiar. So it'll be held in a hybrid format where candidates will have up to 5 minutes each to speak before the council and the public about their interest in joining the city council. Candidates should be prepared to answer follow-up questions from councilors if there are any. Our feeling was that this is a public position. You're going to be asked questions. You ought to be able to answer questions on the spot if there are any. And our hope was that the clerk would be able to gather the documents that are delivered to her by the 7th so that we could have them on our meeting on the 8th. And that way all candidates could be announced at that time so that the public is aware of who is running. So that by the time the 13th came around and there was an opportunity to speak, they would be able to speak and the public would watch. At that time, January 13th through the 15th, the public may contact counselors to provide any input. That gives almost 2 full days for the public to be involved in the process after hearing from the candidates. On January 15th, 2025, there'll be a special meeting of the City Council at 6 p.m. The council will hold the special meeting again in hybrid format and shall nominate candidate or candidates for the position. And if seconded, the candidate or candidates shall have their name entered and the council shall vote to select the candidate to fill the vacancy using a single vote system. That's the recommendation. All of this is subject to the City Council's full endorsement. So if there are any questions or any thoughts or ideas, now would be the time to bring them up. Otherwise, this is the plan how we'll move forward. If we vote on it.
Councilor Sarrett?
First of all, thank you for doing this in such a short time. constraint, and I appreciate the counselor at large who's sitting at the end, who also had recommended outlining a process. My only question, just trying to think about all the combinations and permutations in terms of, I don't know how many candidates we'll have, is the potential, two things. The potential drawback of a single vote system, because I can see, so you would look, I'm just going to ask a question you answer afterwards. So I'm assuming you're looking for a simple majority in this case. It would not be a full majority of the council. So if there were 3 candidates and one person got 4 votes and the other person got 3 and the other person got 2, the person with 4 votes, I'm assuming would win?
That's correct.
Okay. But if there were 3 candidates and, oh, right, there's only 8 of us. Okay. So I guess if there's 2 candidates and there's a tie, but the other thing I'd say is that we already have established, I understand that we kind of keep refining this process because we've done this twice now, once with a counselor selection and once with a school committee selection, and both times it was with ranked choice voting, and I think that works well. So I guess I want to ask why the departure from that process, and then B, would you consider it? So there was a lot in there.
I think filtering through to the bottom line, basically, I think is, for brevity purposes, should we have a ranked choice voting, we need to, frankly, a consultant to help us, I think. Barb, you're the voting expert in the city, and I would turn to you and share what you shared with me, if you would. I think it's important to know. Will you handle this for us?
Well, if you were going to do ranked choice voting, we'd need to get Dan to come in and help.
So it can be complicated. I know we have an advocate of ranked choice voting, an expert, who could help us with that, and I know we'll hear from him today.
All right, before that, because there's a lot of here, right, in this proposal. Probably the only thing that, and I just want to be sure, that we only disagree in the way of electing the new person, and we agree in everything else, or is any other concerns in everything else?
Good.
We're good.
Everybody's comfortable?
Mm-hmm. So now.
Thank you for that clarification.
Okay. Yes, so that way
Helps to move it along.
And now the question is, if the council feel comfortable doing ranked choice voting, having one of the experts, Dan probably is not going to be here because, I don't know, we can count with someone that we didn't talk yet. Probably he will say yes, but we have Councilor Peak that probably he will guide the council in this process.
Sure. I'd be happy to.
Okay. So now the question is, right, saying that, and I'm not doing this because it's late. I'm doing this because I think we should move the process. No, the question is, if the council want to amend this and instead of single vote or using single vote system, adding ranked choice voting, and if that is what the council's desire, I guess I will take a motion, and first I will take a motion for the full document with amended, and let's move forward.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the recommendation for the Rules Committee. Any further discussion? Councilor Sara.
I would like to amend the timeline to recommend at the end, instead of using a single vote system, to using ranked choice voting system. And I would also note that in precinct 2, it being a precinct councilor, it also makes sense to use the same form of voting as that precinct as well.
Makes sense.
Second.
We have an amendment to the original document.
Correct, but that's.
There's only 2 people.
That's accounted for.
There's only 2 people. Any further discussion?
I just would like to add, I have no, strong feeling either way on this. It just was a matter of simplifying the process. And I think, not knowing if Dan's availability and what if Dan doesn't show up. And then where does this put one of our counselors? If we look to you, Tom, in this regard, Counselor Peak, because you're an expert in it, but you're also a voter. And does that split your kind of tallying the votes, or thinking about it, or being there? Because we really needed, I don't know, I'll speak for myself. I needed Dan's guidance in bringing us through the process when he helped us before. Because it can be a little cumbersome, I think. But
Councilor Peak.
How do you feel about this?
Happy to help. If I highly suspect Dan would be happy to be the sort of to bring this along. If he is not, I am happy to find one of many other people I know who would be willing to be sort of a volunteer on the process. It really is, and in fact, we have outlined in our rules for how to do this already. It's already codified, so there's really nothing we would need to do other than continue adhering to the rules that we already have.
Right. Okay. Councilor Sark.
Mr. President, may I ask a clarifying question regarding the nature of ranked choice voting to Councilor Peak? Councilor Peak, within the confines of ranked choice voting, is it implicit that if you have only two candidates that it's then and no ability for write-ins in this case, that it's then basically effectively a single vote system?
It effectively is because there's...
One, two?
Yeah, you just do one, two. Yeah, you'd write one or two, or you just fill out the one and the two is implied.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep. Right.
Thank you. For this one in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone against? Abstention?
No, aye.
The amendment passed. Now.
Everybody say aye.
Everybody said aye.
Yeah.
So we're gonna vote now for the original motion as amended. For those one in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Abstention? Motion passes. Councilor Kuczynski?
I would just like to add, I would ask the clerk to have available, of course, the precinct addresses and where someone would live, so that anyone who's eligible could certainly make that easily available, which I know you do. But go see the clerk if you're interested, and you wonder if you're eligible because of where you live. I would like to be able to take up the rules revision in January. That's something, and Councilor Gomez has promised to be able to get a document that we are looking for to help us with that process. And once we have that, I think we can move very quickly on that matter. So that concludes.
Thank you, Councilor. New business, Councilor Derby.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm gonna see if I can move through these here. We have a utility pole location request for Everett Street. I move that be sent to Property Committee.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to sell the utility pole location request to the Property Committee. Any further discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Abstention? Motion passes.
We also have a city ordinance request regarding flags on public property, including ponds. I move to send that to Property.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to send the city ordinance request regarding flag on public property. Any further discussion? Councilor Saret?
I would recommend that we move to suspend the rules just because I think that this is a very time-sensitive item, but we also don't have fully fleshed out language for it. And so due to Rule 5C, I would just recommend in an abundance of caution to suspend the rules in this case.
Second. Motion and a second to suspend the rule. For those one in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Abstention? Motion passes. We have the city ordinance request regarding flags on public property to send it to the Property Committee. Any further discussion? Seeing none, for those one in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Abstention? Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. We have a request to review residency requirements for memberships on committees, boards, etc. I move that be sent to Ordinance Committee.
Second. I have a motion and a second to send this item to the Ordinance Committee. Any further discussion? Seeing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Abstention? Motion passes.
Okay, then let's see if I can remember this one. We have a Home Rule Charter Amendment, Section 3.1C, Mayor Compensation. I move that we send that to Rules Committee. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. Oh, yay.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to send this item to the Rules Committee. Any further discussion? Seeing none, for those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Abstention? Motion passes.
We also have an interdepartmental transfer, which I will pass to Councilor Peak for first reading.
Do you have the, sure, just add a little bit, but do you have the printed out language for the first reading?
Yes, I do. I do.
All right, I'm making this request in the form of a motion, this first reading in the form of a motion, and also, sorry, when's our first January meeting? It's the 8th. And I'm all, yeah, okay, cool. So the
interdepartmental transfer. Request is hereby made for the approval of the following appropriation. Amount requested, $39,300 to be transferred from reserve fund to be transferred to various accounts as listed on the attachment. The amount requested will be used for the following purpose: retro pay and supplemental payments for the rest of the fiscal year for the AFSCME union employees per the completed collective bargaining agreement. I would also request that we set a public hearing for this item for January 8th at 6:15 in these chambers.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for this transfer of $39,300 to the fund new AFSME union employee contract for fiscal year 2025 and to send it to the Finance Committee and to schedule a public hearing on the 8th at 6:15 at these chambers. Any further discussion? Seeing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Abstention? Motion passes.
Okay, I'll make a second one. I also make this in the form of a motion. Request is hereby made for the approval of the following appropriation. Amount requested $75,000 to be appropriated from CPA Reserve for Open Space, $75,000 to be appropriated to Nonotuck Pickleball Court Expansion, $75,000. The amount requested will be used for the following purpose: for the design and construction of 2 additional pickleball courts at Nonotuck Park. And I would also request that we set a public hearing for this item for January 8th at 6:15 in these chambers.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the CPA supplemental appropriation $75,000 for the construction of the 2 new pickleball courts in Nonotuck Park and to schedule a public hearing on the 8th at 6:15 at these chambers. Any further discussion? Seeing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Abstention? Motion passes. We have one more.
Thank you, Mr. President. We also have a zoning amendment consideration of the housing partnership recommendations that we saw a presentation on tonight. I move that those be sent to ordinance for review.
Second. I have a motion and a second to send to the ordinance committee, the zoning ordinance amendment to the ordinance committee. Any further discussion? Those in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Abstention? Motion passes.
Mr. President?
Councilor Denham. Yes, now I'm thinking because he's going to be first, that's why,
Sorry, at some point I need to add days, extend the deadline. I forgot that January 1st is a holiday, so I was not.
The ordinance?
Yeah. So I need to make a motion to extend Amendment Chapter 8 to add Section 8-3 Easthampton Shrubbery Ordinance and amend several sections of Chapter 2, Division 3, Council on Aging by 60 days for both of those.
Second.
How many days?
60. Motion and a second to extend those items for 60 days. Any further discussion? Seeing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion passes. Mr. Vice
Thank you,
President.
Mr. President. I have requested that I have some Vice President communications for the end of the meeting, and I'll try to be brief but not cheapen the moment, because as we've heard tonight, this is our esteemed President's last meeting leading the ship, and I think from what we've heard, you've had a pretty significant impact, and one of the biggest jobs of the Vice President is to say something when the President leaves and to hand off the plaque that we give. So I'm going to give this to you, but I have something to read. Oh, I could take it out, but so there's a card in here. I just want to get my fingerprints on it. So I'm gonna open this door. I'm gonna let you take it out so you can. And as you take that out, I do have something to say, and I think I thought long and hard about this, and so I wrote this. I'm gonna give it to you, so you can frame it too.
Okay.
Dear Omar, on behalf of the Easthampton City Council, I should probably use my glasses, and the entire community, I want to extend our heartfelt congratulations on your election as state representative for the 2nd Hampshire District. While we are sad to see you leave your role in the City Council, we're incredibly proud of you and excited to see the positive impact you will make at the state level. Your journey with the Easthampton City Council has been nothing short of inspiring. Since your election in 2018, you have demonstrated unwavering dedication, integrity, and leadership. As president of the council for the past 2 terms, I had the privilege of serving alongside you as your vice president, and I can attest to your exceptional ability to lead with fairness and clarity. Your commitment to order, decorum, and adherence to the rules has not only strengthened the council, but also set a high standard for governance in our city. Beyond your work in the council chamber, your background as a high school softball coach exemplifies your natural leadership and mentorship. The skills you honed on the field, teamwork, perseverance, and calling things as you see them, have seamlessly translated into your role as a public servant. You've always been a hard worker, unafraid to tackle challenges head on, and your passion for making a difference shines through in everything you do. As you embark on this new chapter as state representative, we have no doubt that you will bring the same dedication and vision to your work in advocating for families, youth, healthcare, jobs, and the environment. Your focus on these critical issues reflects your deep understanding of the needs and aspirations of our community. The 2nd Hampshire District is fortunate to have such a passionate and capable leader representing them. We will greatly miss your presence on the City Council. We are confident that your contributions at the state level will continue to benefit Easthampton and beyond. Your legacy here, one of hard work, fairness, and steadfast commitment to progress, will not be forgotten. We wish you all the best in your future endeavors and look forward to seeing the incredible work you will accomplish as a state representative. Know that you will always have the support and gratitude of your Easthampton family. Thank you. Congratulations.
I don't know if anyone's gonna say something, but I'm gonna say something. 7 years ago, I was really, really afraid.
You were what?
I was really, really afraid. I was really concerned about people judge me because of my accent. I was really concerned about what people's gonna say because of my look, because I look different. I'm dark skin. But I have to say that the people from Easthampton, even the people that I disagree, welcome me in a way that I can say anything bad. Probably we will disagree in policies. That's it. We love the same city. I didn't grow up here, but I love this city probably more than people who grew up here. I learned so much from each individual, including Joe McCoy, that I remember being in that position there. And Joe McCoy said 7 years ago that I'm going to be in this position. And I laugh because I said, yeah, right. I would say to each individual that I served for the last 7 years, thank you. Thank you. It was a privilege for me serving with you in this capacity. I learned so much, and I'm taking every single experience that I share with you to the State House. I will say that sometimes I was the only one voting no, and I know Boston is different, but I'm not going to be afraid there to say no too. I'm going to fight for the people of 2nd Hampshire, for the people of Easthampton, for the people that we disagree. I'm going to fight for you too, because sometimes we disagree here, but at the large scale, probably we're on the same page. So you're going to have a champion on me. That's it. And again, thank you. Thank you. That was a pleasure to serve with this amazing woman next to me. I feel that since day number 1, I feel so comfortable being here next to you. Thank you. Thank you. I don't know if anyone
I wanted to
motion to adjourn.
Mr. President, if I may.
Mr. Councilor Kuczynski.
I think you've, Councilor Derby, you said it perfectly, I think, for all of us. I'll be brief. I know in my heart, we're sending to the State House a representative that has the people in their heart and in their mind. And to me, that's everything. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for all your service.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Councilor Harrod.
I'm going to try this, and so forgive me if I get it wrong, but I've been doing Duolingo. So, quiero decir que es un placer trabajar contigo. A veces estamos de acuerdo y a veces no estamos de acuerdo, pero siempre podemos trabajar juntos porque estamos unidos por Easthampton. So I think I just said,
you said it well.
I want to say
that was really
it's
good.
a pleasure to work with you, and you know I can be long-winded, so I just want to it's a pleasure to work with you, my classmate, you, me, and Tom.
Yes.
And sometimes we agree, and sometimes we disagree. But we were always able to work together because, and I remember saying this to you the night we both were elected in, because estamos unidos para Easthampton, we are united for Easthampton. And I know that we have agreed and disagreed on things, but right, and I'm proud of you. Thank you. I'm proud to have served with you. Mazel tov. I know you'll be fighting for us on Beacon Hill, so thank you. We'll talk more.
Thank you.
We'll have a 30-minute coffee meeting that turns into 3 hours.
Yes. Thank you. That's it. I wish I can take the motion. I wish I can make the motion to adjourn, but I can't as a council president. So I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. Thank you, everybody. For those in favor?
Aye.
And against, I want to go home.
Hey.
Thank you, everybody. See ya.
I bet your wife wants to go home more.
Picture all together?
Yes, let's do it.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.